Chapter 1867. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and pulled Green Lotus Sword Immortal forward quickly, trying to avoid the sight of this group of people. However, some people were unhappy, such as the people from Hell and Blessed Buddha Temple. Yi Qinghan, you promised to help us get the Flying Immortal Elixir. Why did you come out now? Hell's expert reprimanded coldly. The fire element in Yi Qinghan's body burned uncontrollably, the flames burning the sky. The fire dragon in his eyes was vivid and lifelike. He looked up at Hell's expert and said coldly, I don't see any flying immortal elixir. Can't you see that I'm seriously injured? Cram. Hell's Mosey stared at Yi Qinghan and discovered the Hellblood thread on his arm. He was shocked and whispered, Shrouding Heaven's secret realm actually has such a vicious poison like the Hellblood thread. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said in a muffled voice, Senior Mosey, forgive me for being powerless. However, I've already told my disciple that if I can help Hell, I'll do my best. If not, the grudge between us should be settled. Mosey shook his head and sighed, You've already been poisoned by the Hellblood thread. Our grudge is indeed settled. Even my master doesn't want to provoke such a thing. You'd better find a place to kill yourself so that you won't be tortured to death. Yi Qinghan groaned and pulled Green Lotus Sword Immortal away. However, in the blink of an eye, he discovered that Fazhen Demon Venerable was detained by Heaven-Piercing School's experts. The corners of Yi Qinghan's eyes twitched. Green Lotus Sword Immortal sensed that Yi Qinghan's blood flow was abnormal. He secretly sent a voice transmission to Yi Qinghan. Do you want me to help you deal with them? Don't. If you kill any of them, you'll attract the attention of an Eternal. With your current cultivation base, you'll be courting death. Do you want to return to the corpse sealing well and stay there for countless more years? Yi Qinghan warned. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also afraid of the Eternal Sovereigns. After all, they had the advantage in numbers while he was alone. Furthermore, his cultivation base had yet to recover. Yi Qinghan looked at Lord Fazhen and shook his head gently, indicating for him not to resist. Then, he gave him a reassuring look before leading Green Lotus Sword Immortal away from the central tribe. Looking at Yi Qinghan's final expression, Fazhen couldn't help but smile as though he had been freed from a burden. Yi Qinghan's appearance did not cause much of a stir. Other than those from Hell and Blessed Buddha Temple, no one else paid much attention to him. The two were not fast and Green Lotus Sword Immortal did not want to alarm an eternal being, so he did not use the power of an eternal being. Dong dong dong! Yi Qinghan's heartbeat sped up. His face turned paler and paler, and he frowned in pain. Green Lotus Sword Immortal held Yi Qinghan's large hand tightly and said softly, Endure for a few more days. This place is not far from the martial Dao Supremacy Holy Land. Yi Qinghan heard Green Lotus Sword Immortal's words and could not help but grin bitterly. The corner of his mouth was self-evident. I didn't expect that even a dignified eternal being would feel sorry for me. This suffering is worth it. Yi Qinghan laughed hoarsely. Humph! Green Lotus Sword Immortal clenched her jade-like hand, almost breaking Yi Qinghan's arm. He sucked in a breath of cold air in pain. Are you trying to murder your husband? I am only a lower realm cultivator. How can I withstand your devastation? Yi Qinghan screamed. Pah! Green Lotus Sword Immortal raised her foot and stomped on Yi Qinghan's foot, directly changing the shape of the foot. Ayo! Yi Qinghan cried out involuntarily, tears almost falling from his eyes. Who told you to talk too much? I saved you because you saved me twice. I can't bear to let you die. If you dare to speak nonsense again, I will make you regret it. Green Lotus Sword Immortal scolded. F***ck. Woman, can't you even crack a joke? What's the fun in that? Yi Qinghan grinned. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's heart skipped a beat. No one had ever joked with her in her life, let alone this kind of joke. At this moment, the corner of her mouth revealed a faint smile that was almost invisible. However, Yi Qinghan was staring at Green Lotus Sword Immortal and could not help but be stunned. This kind of faint smile could really make a man kneel and be dead set on it. Yi Qinghan laughed in his heart. He knew that this woman could not escape from his grasp. However, he had to kill the Hell bloodline to survive. Otherwise, he would have a beauty but not be able to enjoy it. Green Lotus Sword Immortal saw the strange smile on Yi Qinghan's face and couldn't help but snort. Enough nonsense. Let's speed up. Otherwise, you will be dead before we reach the frigid snow plains of the extreme north. Green Lotus Sword Immortal suddenly sped up, almost dragging Yi Qinghan with her. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was like a little woman. However, he really enjoyed the feeling of being protected by a powerful woman. In this life, he had only protected others. It turned out that being protected was also quite enjoyable. Along the way, the two were silent. Yi Qinghan's head was almost hanging on Green Lotus Sword Immortal's shoulder. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead, drenching his clothes. The Hell bloodline on his body had almost broken through his physical defenses and was gnawing away at his blood essence. Slowly, Yi Qinghan's vision turned dark and drowsy. The light in his eyes was no longer there. Wake up. If you sleep, don't think about waking up in this lifetime. Green Lotus Sword Immortal noticed that Yi Qinghan's breath was weak and immediately warned him. However, Yi Qinghan's eyelids were very heavy. He couldn't open his eyes at all. He could only hear Green Lotus Sword Immortal's vague voice. Pa! Green Lotus Sword Immortal didn't seem to know how to coax people. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was so tired that he couldn't open his eyes, she gave him a slap. The slap was very loud, echoing through the mountains. A piercing pain enveloped his heart. Yi Qinghan painfully opened his eyes. There was a burning pain on his face, and a clear handprint could be seen. Don't sleep. I am moving at the speed of an upper-level cultivator. There is still a chance. Green Lotus Sword Immortal said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan wanted to say something but stopped. He seemed to feel that reincarnation was summoning him. His soul was about to disperse. His eyelids were as heavy as Mount Tai, preventing him from waking up. He felt that closing his eyes and sleeping now was the greatest happiness. Seeing that Yi Qinghan's soul was about to scatter, Green Lotus Sword Immortal sped up and became more and more anxious. At this moment, it seemed that she couldn't bear to see Yi Qinghan die. She said, Yi Qinghan, be strong. As long as you can resist sleeping, when we reach the land of extreme cold, I will allow you to kiss me. Yi Qinghan's eyelids twitched. He put his hands on Green Lotus Sword Immortal's shoulders. Although he was about to die, his lust didn't change. He grinned and said, This is a good benefit. When we reach there, you can take the initiative to kiss me. Anything is fine. Green Lotus Sword Immortal said decisively. Whoosh! Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal carried Yi Qinghan on her back. Although she didn't use the power of an eternal sovereign, the speed of an upper-level cultivator was still very fast. It was almost as fast as teleportation, leaving behind afterimages. Yi Qinghan was full of spirit. The light in his eyes gathered again. He forced open his eyelids and said with a smile, Even if I die in this life, it is worth it. To be able to make Green Lotus Sword Immortal take the initiative to kiss me, I think those eternal sovereigns are not qualified. Green Lotus Sword Immortal felt a faint sweetness in her heart. This kind of feeling had never appeared before. However, as an eternal sovereign, her heart was still high and mighty. She thought that this was just repaying a debt of gratitude. She couldn't have any feelings for ants. Chapter 1868. Green Lotus Sword Immortal carried Yi Qinghan on his back as he ran. He kept talking to Yi Qinghan, afraid that he would fall asleep from exhaustion. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth, trying to keep his soul awake. His hands were dyed red with blood, and when they stained Green Lotus Sword Immortal's body, they looked even more beautiful. Green Lotus Sword Immortal moved as if he was flying. He shuttled through the mountains as if he was walking on flat ground. Seeing the clothes in front of him drenched in blood, he became even more anxious. The moonlight became brighter and brighter, pouring down on Yi Qinghan's body. The hell blood veins in his body became even more active. Thump thump thump. Yi Qinghan's heart was beating wildly, hitting Green Lotus Sword Immortal's back. Yi Qinghan's eyes became even heavier, and he could not open them at all. Huff huff huff. Yi Qinghan breathed heavily into Green Lotus Sword Immortal's ears. Green Lotus Sword Immortal only felt his ears itch. The blood in his body felt like it was boiling, and a strange feeling enveloped his heart. I can't take it anymore. Yi Qinghan only felt that his soul was about to scatter, slowly returning to chaos. His voice was hoarse and tired, like a mortal who had not eaten or slept for several days. Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked at the distant snowy plains. It was not far, but it would still take several hours to reach. He turned his head to look at Yi Qinghan's pale face. He gritted his teeth and took the initiative to place Yi Qinghan's large hand into his bosom, pressing it against his chest. Wake up! Hold on! Green Lotus Sword Immortal's voice was melodious, like the most beautiful sound of nature, stimulating Yi Qinghan's soul. Yi Qinghan immediately woke up. He gently rubbed the big bun in his hand and grinned. Although it was very miserable, it was indeed very happy. Green Lotus, you are really good, Yi Qinghan said softly. Is that so? I was scolded quite badly by you. Green Lotus Sword Immortal forced a smile. Haha. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. At this moment, he really wanted to live on and take revenge for the Green Lotus Sword Immortal. His large hands could not help but knead her soft flesh. Green Lotus Sword Immortal coughed but didn't stop him. At the very least, this would allow Yi Qinghan to recover a portion of his strength. As they chatted like this, Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal appeared on a snowy plain several hours later. Heavy snow swirled about, covering the ground and making it almost impossible to see the ground. The snowy mountains and snowy plains covered the sky and earth, and the cold air was oppressive. The moment Yi Qinghan stepped into the snowfield, he felt as if the hell's blood veins in his body were being suppressed. They moved very slowly, but they were eating faster and faster. Yi Qinghan let out a low growl as his large hand grabbed the large steamed bun and changed its shape. The Green Lotus Sword Immortal let out another muffled groan. Not only was he not angry, but he was also very excited and exhilarated. His pores were all open. Endure a little longer. Crossing the Holy Land is the land of extreme cold. Here, the hell's blood veins are suppressed and need large amounts of food to keep them asleep. Before they fall asleep, they are very crazy. If you can endure this period of time, you might be able to survive. Green Lotus Sword Immortal reminded. I can endure. Yi Qinghan's desire to live was unprecedentedly strong. He wanted to live, he wanted to help Green Lotus Sword Immortal, and he wanted to in order to gather his spirit. Yi Qinghan looked up and scanned his surroundings. He saw that the snowy plain was enveloped in a silver light, and it was exceptionally cold. Even his blood and chi were being suppressed. Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal sped through the sky, and the snow roared. The two of them seemed to have turned white. After flying for several days, it became colder and colder. Yi Qinghan felt that the hell's blood veins in his body were slowing down. However, his life was nearing its end, and his soul could dissipate at any time. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was relying on his last bit of willpower to gather his soul and prevent it from dissipating. His eyes were wide open. After flying for several more days, snowy mountains appeared in front of them. A wisp of red light appeared from the east, illuminating the snowy mountains. The silver light was resplendent and extremely beautiful. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's large hand gradually withdrew from his warm embrace because he could no longer feel the hell's blood veins sucking at him. Although he was very tired and cold, It was still much better than being eaten by the hell's blood veins. Whoosh! His divine robe was frozen by the cold wind and snow. Yi Qinghan's hair was as hard as steel and was completely frozen. Green Lotus Sword Immortal immediately reminded him, "You used the fire origin to protect your soul and abandoned your body. With your strength, it is impossible for you to resist the extreme cold." When Yi Qinghan heard this, he immediately enveloped his soul with the divine fire origin and used the Rui Bell to protect his organs. If not for the Rui Bell, he would not have been able to resist the hell's blood veins. Whoosh! A cold wind blew past, and Yi Qinghan's body was instantly frozen. His body was covered in snow and ice. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's divine robe was also frozen, but she was an eternal. With a surge of energy, sword energy wreaked havoc, preventing the cold from approaching. Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal increased her speed. The further north she rushed, the colder the temperature became. There were no longer any living creatures here. Everything was in a frozen state. The ice layer was almost 1,000 feet thick and bottomless. Yi Qinghan's soul was in a muddled state. Although he was not dead, he could not wake up. He allowed Green Lotus Sword Immortal to carry him. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was not only unaffected by the extreme cold, but she became even more flirtatious. She was like the most beautiful demonic lotus on a snowy mountain. She was indescribably beautiful. Whoosh! We're finally here. Perhaps I can save you. Green Lotus Sword Immortal let out a breath of turbid air. She carried the frozen Yi Qinghan in her arms and quickly headed north for several hundred kilometers. The further north she went, the colder it became. Perhaps even the Rui Bell would be frozen. She didn't dare to go any further. Green Lotus Sword Immortal placed Yi Qinghan on the ice layer. She took out her wooden sword and carved a deep hole in the ground. With a flick of her sword chi, the hard ice instantly shattered. Then, Green Lotus Sword Immortal placed Yi Qinghan into the deep hole. She used her sword chi to wipe away the ice on Yi Qinghan's body. The sword chi pierced Yi Qinghan's wrist. Blood splattered everywhere. The cold chi rushed into Yi Qinghan's body through the wound and stimulated the hell blood veins in his body. The hell blood veins did not like the cold. They would not be frozen by the cold chi. At this moment they were slowly swimming. Green Lotus Sword Immortal cut her own jade arm. A powerful sword essence enveloped her golden body. The temperature was much higher than Yi Qinghan's body. It was very suitable for the hell blood veins to live in. The hell blood veins seemed to sense a suitable living environment. They quickly rushed out of Yi Qinghan's body and headed straight for Green Lotus Sword Immortal's arm. Whoosh! The first blood vein came out. But before it could enter Green Lotus Sword Immortal's body, it was wiped out by a wisp of energy. Whoosh! 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 The second and third blood vein rushed out of Yi Qinghan's body. Yi Qinghan had nearly 100 hell blood veins in his body. They rushed out of his body one after another. Green Lotus Sword Immortal constantly wiped out the hell blood veins. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to kill them. However, Green Lotus Sword Immortal's sword chi was too terrifying. As long as it pierced through the enemy's defense, it could seal off all life. 2 hours later, Yi Qinghan's body only had 2 or 3 hell blood veins left. They seemed to be very smart. They seemed to know that the outside temperature was only bait and were unwilling to come out. Chapter 1869. Yi Qinghan was lying flat in the ice pit. The ice on his body was sparkling and translucent. His bodily functions had all died, leaving only his internal organs that were protected by the Rui Bell. Green Lotus Sword Immortal had a serious expression. The cold air was gradually entering Yi Qinghan's internal organs and soul. If this continued, even if the hell blood threads were extracted, he would be beyond saving. Phew! Green Lotus Sword Immortal exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. With a wave of her hand, she engraved an array formation that covered 100 meters around her. She was afraid that her aura would leak out. What I owe you, I'll return it to you. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's beautiful face revealed a smile. With a wave of her hand, the world changed colors. Boundless vitality rushed out from her body. Her body transformed into a green lotus that bloomed at the peak of the snowy mountain. It was so beautiful that even the heavens would submit to it. Whoosh! Rings of the great Tao spread out as the green lotus appeared on Yi Qinghan's body. It constantly emitted spiritual energy. If someone were to absorb a mouthful of the green lotus's immortal aura, even if they did not become an immortal, it would not be a problem for them to reach the upper level. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan did not have this blessing. He was in a daze, and even his flame of life could be extinguished at any moment. The green lotus transferred some of the vitality in her body to Yi Qinghan, allowing him to recover all the losses he had suffered over the past few days. It even strengthened him. The green lotus bloomed. It was extremely enchanting and filled the sky with immortal aura. At this moment, the hell blood threads could not hold back any longer. They slowly swam out from Yi Qinghan's wrist. However, the moment they appeared, they were captured by the green lotus. There were only 2 hell blood threads left. The green lotus's light became even brighter as the enchanting light shot into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. It made Yi Qinghan's soul feel like it was bathed in immortal light, causing him to groan. The second hell blood thread rushed out of his body but was still captured by the green lotus. There was still 1 hell blood thread struggling. Its thin tentacles hooked onto Yi Qinghan's flesh and blood. His body was constantly being stretched and rushed out. The tearing pain caused Yi Qinghan to frown. Although he was unconscious, the pain still haunted him. Whoosh! The aura of the great Tao rose once again, making the 100-meter-wide array formation look like a paradise. Finally, the smartest hell blood thread could not hold on any longer. It rushed out of his body, but the temperature outside was too low. It was so low that it could suppress the vitality of powerful creatures. Whoosh! The hellish blood threads surged towards Green Lotus's main body. Once he was entangled, Green Lotus Sword Immortal would be in danger. Boom! Qinglian took the opportunity to drag the hell's blood threads far away. She then transformed back into her human form. With a wave of her hand, the wooden sword severed the hell's blood threads. The sword chi sealed the hell's blood threads. Ho ho ho! Dong dong dong! Green Lotus Sword Immortal panted nervously. What she had just done was extremely dangerous. If she revealed her true body, not only would her identity be exposed, her defense would also be greatly reduced. Once she was entangled by the infernal blood threads, her life would be over. The infernal blood threads were extremely intelligent. With the previous example, she could forget about luring them out next time. After a long while, Green Lotus Sword Immortal's face was ruddy. She was exceptionally happy, like a little girl who had made a great contribution. Kakik Green Lotus Sword Immortal laughed. She retracted her aura and cut open the array. She squatted in front of Yi Qinghan, shook a little, and said crisply, "Get up!" Although Yi Qinghan's vitality had been restored, his soul had been frozen. His face was as pale as snow and his soul was in a daze. He could not hear Green Lotus Sword Immortal's call at all. Green Lotus Sword Immortal grabbed her hair and made exaggerated movements. She took the opportunity to slap Yi Qinghan twice. Slap slap. These 2 slaps contained a powerful force that contained the eternal laws. The valiant Green Lotus Sword Immortal wanted to forcefully awaken Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's dazed soul was immediately awakened by these 2 slaps. He opened his eyes in a daze. He felt that he could not feel his face. A burning pain stimulated his pain nerve. Green Lotus Sword Immortal suddenly smiled. When she grinned, her white teeth were especially dazzling. Her smile could topple cities and make the snowy plains look like spring. Yi Qinghan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal in a daze. He seemed to have forgotten the pain on his face. But Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked at Yi Qinghan's dazed expression and slapped him again. Yi Qinghan did not have time to dodge. His face was firmly slapped, and he was immediately enraged. You shrew, are you trying to murder your husband? Yi Qinghan's body trembled. Even the true dragon fire essence could not resist the cold energy that entered his body. Even his voice changed. Who are you calling a shrew? Green Lotus Sword Immortal's expression changed as she coldly questioned. Yi Qinghan was startled. He patted his chest and grinned. Of course I'm not talking about you. You're so beautiful and gentle. Why would your husband talk about you? That's more like it. Green Lotus Sword Immortal did not react. By the time she did, Yi Qinghan had already gotten up and rushed south. Seeing Yi Qinghan run away in a sorry state, the corner of Green Lotus Sword Immortal's mouth revealed a faint smile, but it quickly disappeared. Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal walked across the snowy plains and caught up to Yi Qinghan in one step. She said calmly, Do you want me to give you a ride? Yi Qinghan was already frozen to the point that he did not know what to do. His face was purple. When he heard Green Lotus Sword Immortal's words, he immediately said flatteringly, Little beauty, help me warm my body. I'm hanging up, then I'm ready. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes flashed with a sly light. She lifted her leg and kicked Yi Qinghan, sending him flying. Yi Qinghan lost control of his body. He screamed and cursed in the air. Green Lotus, you, however. His voice was immediately blown away by the cold wind. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body was like a bolt of lightning as he slid into the distance. Whoosh whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal caught up. When she saw Yi Qinghan falling, she kicked him again, as if it was fun. The more miserable Yi Qinghan was, the happier she laughed. After kicking Yi Qinghan more than 10 times, Green Lotus Sword Immortal finally stopped playing around. She pulled Yi Qinghan's body that was about to be frozen and sent a strand of divine power into his body to force the cold away. She did not feel guilty at all. Instead, she giggled and said, It's really fun. Let's play again. Yi Qinghan was flustered and exasperated. This woman was simply crazy. Did she cultivate every day before and now she wanted to make up for her naivety? When I get out, I'll *CK you 10,000 times. Yi Qinghan said, trembling all over. Is that so? Green Lotus Sword Immortal's face sank. Her expression changed faster than flipping a book. Yi Qinghan's body trembled. He was really afraid that she would do it again. He hurriedly said, My dear beauty, let's stop fooling around. I'll bring you to the tomb of the Eternal One. There's a sword in the Eternal One's body. Is it yours? When Green Lotus Sword Immortal heard this, her face immediately turned cold and murderous. Yi Qinghan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal. He suddenly felt that Green Lotus Sword Immortal was a schizophrenic. She could erupt with negative emotions at any time. It was terrifying. Chapter 1870. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's expression was cold. After pondering for a long time, she said, Take me there. That is my sword. It was made from my main body's green lotus root. Other than me, no one can pull it out. Otherwise, it would have been snatched away by those eternal sovereigns. Yi Qinghan nodded and grabbed her hand. Let's go. Let's go to the northwest of Sword Path Holy Land. Let's go through Martial Path Holy Land and Battle Race Holy Land. Don't think too much. Revenge is a dish best served cold. We have plenty of time. But Green Lotus Sword Immortal was furious. She said with killing intent, Some grudges need to be avenged now. My lotus heart is in the hands of Central Earth Holy Empire's Holy Master. Without it, I can't fight against so many people. I won't be able to do it in the future. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's main body was a Green Lotus Immortal. The Lotus Heart was the most important. It carried the essence of Green Lotus Sword Immortal for countless years. Although Green Lotus Sword Immortal cut off half of it, the remaining half was lost. The remaining half was in the hands of the Holy Empire's Holy Master. If the two halves of the Lotus Heart could not be found, talking about revenge was just empty talk. The two chatted as they moved. Yi Qinghan knew that Green Lotus Sword Immortal had lost half of her cultivation. He wondered how she was at her peak state. The two halves of the Lotus Heart needed to be found. But one had disappeared for countless years, and the other was in the hands of the Holy Empire's Holy Master. Yi Qinghan comforted her. He did not want Green Lotus Sword Immortal to be sad. He promised, then, "I will help you find the Lotus Heart. No matter the price, I will help you get it back. But promise me, don't be impulsive. You are not at your peak state. I'm afraid you can't win against any eternal sovereigns." Green Lotus Sword Immortal let out a breath. She looked at Yi Qinghan's determined eyes and felt warm. She nodded and said, "Okay." The two passed through the snow plains without alarming the people of Martial Path, Holy Land. After 10 days, Yi Qinghan and the Green Lotus Sword Immortal appeared in the Battle Race's territory. It was very far to the north and the weather was very bad. Very few people lived here and there were only many adventurers wandering around. However, there were no experts because the true experts were all in the Shrouding Sky secret realm. The two of them wantonly walked on the mountain as if they were walking on flat ground. They arrived at a lush green valley with a waterfall and a clear pond. The spiritual energy was oppressive, and 10 or so lotus flowers bloomed in the middle of a lake. It was extremely beautiful, as if they were in a paradise. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was in a much better mood when he saw the environment. He looked at the bloodstains on his clothes. His entire body was sticky, and many of the bloodstains were Yi Qinghan's blood. "I'm going to take a bath. Keep a lookout for me. If you dare to peep, I'll gouge out your eyes." Green Lotus Sword Immortal glared at Yi Qinghan and warned. Yi Qinghan shrugged and smiled obsequiously. "Do you want me to scrub your back? Anyway, it's not the first time." Slap. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was too valiant. After being taken advantage of verbally, she only knew how to attack. She casually gave Yi Qinghan a slap. Moreover, her strength was not small. She directly sent Yi Qinghan flying a few hundred meters away, almost falling off a cliff. Yi Qinghan touched his burning face and was speechless. He cursed angrily. "Motherf *cur, this bitch has no femininity at all. If I could beat you, you wouldn't even have the chance to be so arrogant." The fiery red handprint on his face slowly protruded. Yi Qinghan helplessly walked towards the valley and prepared to keep a lookout for Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Yi Qinghan stood on a mountain peak in the valley and looked around. He could see everything in the valley. Putong. With a crisp sound, Yi Qinghan looked over and discovered that Green Lotus Sword Immortal had already rushed into the clear lake. She was like a daffodil swimming in the water. Her divine robe was left on the shore. Her snow-white skin was a feast for the eyes. Yi Qinghan could only swallow his saliva. This was completely different from when he helped her clean her body. Now, this golden body was even more spiritual. It made his blood rush to his head and nearly drive him crazy. However, Yi Qinghan only dared to watch from afar. He did not dare to get too close. Otherwise, Green Lotus Sword Immortal would kill him in the water. There were many spiritual birds around, but no one. Yi Qinghan sat on the mountain peak. His eyes were wide open and he was drooling. So King beautiful. As expected of a sword immortal. What a stunner. Yi Qinghan was used to seeing beauties, but he still could not control himself at this moment. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was hiding behind a lotus leaf. Looking at the lake, the lotus leaves were swaying in the wind. The blue sky was clear and the water was clear. Spiritual energy filled the air. With Green Lotus Sword Immortal as a backdrop, this place looked like a paradise. Gulp, Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His eyes flashed and his fingertips trembled. His legs wanted to run over and play in the water, but after 2 hours, He did not dare to take half a step forward. At this moment, a strange sound was heard. It was very strange, and sounded a little like the dialect of a small place. The voice was rough, but it was a woman's voice. Yi Qinghan immediately woke up. He looked towards the south and saw two figures approaching. He could not tell if they were a man or a woman. He immediately shouted, "Green Lotus, someone is coming. There are two of them. I don't know if they are a man or a woman. Come up quickly." Green Lotus was shocked and quickly said, "Give me a new set of clothes. I want underwear too." Yi Qinghan curled his lips. How could he have women's clothes? However, he did have some underwear. Yi Qinghan immediately ran over. He looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal in the lake and said, "Come up quickly. I'll put them on for you." Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal swam to the shore and stood up with a whoosh. Yi Qinghan was dumbfounded. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The hand holding the clothes trembled and stiffened to show respect. The second head proudly raised her head. Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked at Yi Qinghan's eyes that were spitting fire. She smiled proudly and said, "Take a look. You can only take a look." After saying that, Green Lotus Sword Immortal reached out and took the oversized underwear and put it on. This situation was enough to make anyone's head throb. Yi Qinghan almost lost control. However, when he saw Green Lotus Sword Immortal's cold eyes, Yi Qinghan involuntarily took a step back. He protected the second head with both hands and really kicked her. "Humph!" Green Lotus Sword Immortal snorted twice. She took the battle robe and put it on. She looked more divine than a man and more valiant than a woman. She was indescribably beautiful. Yi Qinghan chuckled and said, "I remember that you still owe me a kiss. Before we came, you promised me." Green Lotus Sword Immortal raised her eyebrows and asked, "When? How come I didn't know?" Yi Qinghan was speechless. He said angrily, "Before we came, when we were about to reach the snowfield, you promised me. You can't go back on your word." "I don't remember. Let's talk about it when I remember." Green Lotus Sword Immortal clearly wanted to go back on her word. She ignored Yi Qinghan and turned to leave. Chapter 1871. Green Lotus Sword Immortal seemed a lot more cheerful. Seeing Yi Qinghan's deflated expression, she could not help but smile proudly. Yi Qinghan shrugged with a helpless expression. Who asked him to be unable to beat her? At this moment, the other voices were getting closer and closer. "Do you think our husband is a handsome guy?" a rough female voice asked curiously. "We are so beautiful. Our husband must be a dragon among men, a handsome man with the demeanor of a king." Another female voice was soft. Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked at each other. They did not expect there to be such a shameless woman in this world. She actually praised them so much, so they looked into the distance at the same time. At this moment, two women appeared in the valley. For the time being, they were called women because the leader was a fat man with a beard. He had a huge body and was even stronger than Yi Qinghan. His eyes were very large. In Yi Qinghan's long life, this was the first time he had seen such an ugly woman. The other one was not bad either. She had pointy ears and monkey cheek. She was as thin as a monkey. Her body was thin and narrow. She had no chest, no legs, and no butt. Her eyes were small, like a monster that had just transformed. F***K, so ugly. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and almost vomited. Green Lotus Sword Immortal frowned. Yi Qinghan only saw their appearances, but she saw the cultivation levels of these two women. They were both in the middle level, and their combat strength was extremely terrifying. Yi Qinghan, who was invincible in the same realm, couldn't even defeat one of them. Wow! At this moment, the two women saw Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal. They exclaimed at the same time, that fortune teller was actually telling the truth. There really are handsome men here. So handsome. That fortune teller said that the first man we see today is our future husband. These two are both handsome and have the demeanor of a king. We will each take one. The thin woman screamed. I am the older sister, so I should choose first. I will choose the shorter one. He looks better. You choose the taller one. The fat woman's voice was like a bell, shaking the mountain rocks. Listen to me. This tall one isn't bad either. The skinny woman said. Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal's pupils constricted as they looked at each other speechlessly. Are these two demons in human form? Yi Qinghan asked via voice transmission. Green Lotus Sword Immortal frowned and shook his head. There's some demonic aura on them, but they can't be considered demonic. They should be half demonic. Their accents are also rather strange. Their cultivations are rather powerful. Don't underestimate them. Half-demons were the children of humans and shape-shifting experts. Although these half-demons were not liked by humans, it was certain that they were very powerful and had a very terrifying background. Not to mention humans, just the shape-shifting expert in the outside world who could shape-shift and give birth to children was at least an upper-level grade expert. Just as the two of them were discussing via voice transmission, the two extremely ugly women ran over and reached out to grab Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Yi Qinghan hurriedly took a step back and reprimanded coldly, "What are you doing? Husband, you are my husband. I don't mind that your cultivation is weak. I can protect you," the skinny monkey-like woman said delicately. The fat woman looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal with a covetous expression. Her saliva flowed freely, but before she could say anything, Green Lotus Sword Immortal said, "I'm a woman. Don't tell me I'm also your husband." The fat woman's eyes widened as she reached out to touch Green Lotus Sword Immortal's chest, as though she did not believe her. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's glare gave the fat woman a fright. She hurriedly took a step back and said with an embarrassed smile, "Since I'm a woman, I'll suffer a little and marry the same man as my younger sister." With that said, the fat woman looked at Yi Qinghan and used her large fist to punch Yi Qinghan in the chest. It almost made Yi Qinghan breathless. "You're lucky. We sisters are devastatingly beautiful. We'll serve you at the same time. Hurry up and agree." The fat woman's bell-like voice resounded in Yi Qinghan's ears, causing his ears to go numb. Yi Qinghan's heart churned and he almost vomited. If he slept with these two women, even if he didn't die, he would still be half dead. He might as well die. "What nonsense are you spouting? I don't even know you," Yi Qinghan reprimanded. "What? You don't like us? I, Li Chenyu, and my younger sister, Li Luoyan, are both as beautiful as flowers and devastatingly beautiful. At the same time, we'll marry a little rookie like you. How dare you be picky?" The fat woman glared and angrily questioned. Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He wiped it with his large hand and quickly waved it off. "Two beauties, I already have a wife. It's her. As you can see, I've already married such a beautiful wife. How can I have two more beauties? How can other men live?" With that said, Yi Qinghan hugged Green Lotus Sword Immortal with a helpless expression. But the two terrifying women kept pestering Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal, not allowing them to leave. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's waist was being hugged by Yi Qinghan. Her waist was stiff and her expression was somewhat ugly. However, she didn't want to be entangled with these two women of unknown origins. She suppressed her anger and allowed Yi Qinghan's large hand to caress her waist. Her entire body was numb and weak. She almost collapsed on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. "We sisters don't mind. This little woman is very handsome. She's worthy of marrying you with us," the thin woman, Li Luoyan, said forthrightly. Yi Qinghan frowned and almost cursed out loud. Which bastard did these two women hear this nonsense from? They actually insisted on marrying him. Don't talk nonsense with them. Take me away. Yi Qinghan bitterly smiled and said to Green Lotus Sword Immortal, Green Lotus Sword Immortal nodded slightly. She pulled Yi Qinghan and lightly tapped the ground. Like a sword light, they flew out of the valley. Whoosh! Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan's speed wasn't bad either. They were actually able to keep up with Green Lotus Sword Immortal. They were like lightning cheetahs in the valley. Even the cliffs couldn't stop them. Boom, boom, boom. The mountain rocks were crushed under their feet. The wind howled and the mountains and rivers retreated. Yi Qinghan was being dragged away by Green Lotus Sword Immortal. When he turned his head and looked behind him, he couldn't help but be shocked. He didn't expect two Middle Realm cultivators to be able to keep up with Green Lotus Sword Immortal. They are the children of cloud-piercing beasts. They are famous for their speed. The speed of this kind of existence is often faster than a human expert. When their speed reaches the limit, the power they produce is terrifying. Green Lotus Sword Immortal quickly explained. Let's speed up and shake them off. These two women are up to no good. Yi Qinghan said in alarm. Humph. If they were prettier than me, I'm afraid you would shamelessly stay behind. Green Lotus Sword Immortal sneered. When Yi Qinghan saw Green Lotus Sword Immortal's smile, he immediately explained in a flattering manner, "There's no one prettier than you in this world. Even if there was, I wouldn't like it. Don't worry." TSK. Green Lotus Sword Immortal sneered in disdain. She quickly brought Yi Qinghan with her. Half a day later, a majestic city crossed the east and west, blocking their path. Chapter 1872. The city walls were tall and spanned from east to west, cutting off the north and south paths. If one wanted to go over, they had to go through the city. Without a choice, Green Lotus Sword Immortal could only bring Yi Qinghan to land not far from the city gates and walk forward. However, before they could take more than a few steps, the strange sisters caught up. Boom! The two of them stirred up a cloud of dust that filled the surroundings. They were panting as they stared at Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Li Luoyan shrieked, "Husband, how can you give up on us two beauties just because of a little tree? That's right. We sisters are sincere. That charlatan told us that the first man we will see today will be our husband. You are the only man we have seen so far. You must believe in the will of the heavens." Li Chenyu's deep voice exploded, causing Yi Qinghan's face to turn pale. "Which old bastard told you that? Tell me. I'll go ask him." Yi Qinghan looked at the two women and angrily roared. "He is in the warlord's mansion. He is the famous immortal Zhang. He is said to be able to see everything for 50,000 years. Nothing can escape his eyes. He has never miscalculated a marriage," Li Chenyu confidently replied. When it came to fortune-telling, Yi Qinghan would always think of fortune-telling. He was filled with disgust towards this profession and wanted to kill all fortune-tellers in the world. It was fine that he was scammed by fortune-telling, but now he was being scammed by a charlatan that he had never seen before. Crack! Yi Qinghan clenched his fist. He looked at the city gates and coldly sneered, "Immortal Zhang, today, I want to see if you have divined that you will face a calamity." With that, Yi Qinghan pulled Green Lotus Sword Immortal and rushed into the city. "Husband, wait for us," Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan repeatedly said. They were like delicate young ladies. Yi Qinghan's body trembled and goosebumps appeared. If he could beat them, he would have kicked them already. Kakik Green Lotus Sword Immortal laughed instead of getting angry. His laughter was filled with mockery, but the sound of nature like silver bells made Yi Qinghan's bones go soft. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He could not afford to offend any of these three women. "My dear beauty, restrain your unique aura and try to be as ordinary as possible. It's not suitable for us to be in the limelight right now." He could only bear with it and was prepared to enter the city to beat up that Zhang Tianshan. Green Lotus Sword Fairy silently restrained her unique temperament. Her complexion darkened slightly, and her appearance instantly decreased by 50%. Even so, she could still sweep away all the beauties in the world. Yi Qinghan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal and then at the two so-called spellcasters behind him. He almost vomited. Let's go. I want to kill that Zhang Tianshan. Yi Qinghan pulled Qinglian and rushed towards the warlord prefecture. The two beauties chattered as they chased after Yi Qinghan relentlessly. It was as if they really treated Yi Qinghan as their husband. The four of them rushed into the city. The city was bustling with life, and the people were valiant. The people here were all tall and sturdy, and even the women were no exception. Their beauty standards seemed to be different from ordinary people. They only liked strong men or women. Green Lotus Sword Immortal, who was weak and delicate, could not be considered a beauty. The fat woman behind Yi Qinghan, however, could be considered a beauty. Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal heard the people talking about the four of them and praising Li Chenyu as a beauty. They could not help but look at each other. However, Li Chenyu was very pleased with herself. She motioned provocatively at Yi Qinghan as if to say, "See, I'm a beauty." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said with a grin, "Where is that Zhang Tianshan?" "He's in the city center. Husband, I'll bring you to him." Li Chenyu patted her large chest and said. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He really wanted to punch this woman, but he restrained himself in the end. He took a few deep breaths and said with a smile, "Beauty, I'm not your husband. If you don't believe me, we can go ask Zhang Tianshan." "Let's go then. If you dare to quibble again, I'll beat you to death," Li Chenyu threatened. Yi Qinghan's body trembled. He did not want to talk nonsense with her anymore. He gestured for them to lead the way. The four of them quickly rushed towards the bustling city center. The warlord prefecture was the birthplace of the first-generation warlord. It was one of the more bustling areas in the warlord's holy land. There were many experts here, and it was suitable for humans to live in. Therefore, there were quite a few people on the street. At the center of the city, at a crossroad, a wretched white-haired old man was squatting in the corner. Beside him was a little golden monkey. In front of him was a big bowl made of some unknown material. It was black and there was a banner next to it. The three words Zhang Tianshan were swaying in the wind. With such an appearance, he did not look like Zhang Tianshan at all. Instead, he looked like Zhang Tianshan the beggar. Zhang Tianshan squinted his eyes as if he was taking a nap. Zhi. The golden monkey, which was slightly bigger than a fist, jumped up and down. Occasionally, it would search for a few copper coins in the bowl and reach out to the passers-by to ask for something. At this time, Zhang Tianshan's heart suddenly sped up. He quickly stood up and grabbed the big bowl and banner. He said in a small voice, "Little monkey, someone wants to settle a score with me. Come with me." "Xiao." Zhi. The golden monkey quickly jumped onto Zhang Tianshan's shoulder. Zhang Tianshan was about to leave, but at this time, a thick palm pressed down on his shoulder. "Zhang Tianshan, why are you running? Come and tell my fortune." Yi Qinghan smiled evilly. "I'm not running. I still have a 3-year-old child waiting for me to go home and feed her. If you want your fortune told, come early tomorrow." After saying this, Zhang Tianshan moved and Yi Qinghan lost control. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He was holding onto Zhang Tianshan's shoulder. How could he let him escape? Just at that moment, Green Lotus Sword Celestial moved. He was even faster than him and blocked Zhang Tianshan's path. The wooden sword in his hand pressed against Zhang Tianshan's chest. He shook his head and said, "Celestial, we really have something to tell you. Please stay." Zhang Tianshan smiled wretchedly, revealing a row of white teeth. However, when he saw Green Lotus Sword Immortal, his body trembled and his face turned purple. He was so scared that he almost knelt down. Zhi. The golden monkey stood on his shoulder and kowtowed, as if it was very afraid of Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Sir, you must be joking. How can I predict your matters?" Zhang Tianshan said flatteringly. "You know who I am?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal raised his eyebrows and asked calmly. Zhang Tianshan said fearfully, "How can ordinary people like me know the great existences? However, I know that you are one of the great existences, sir. Please don't make things difficult for me. I'm just trying to make a living." Then help the two of them calculate again. Am I their husband? Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and asked. Zhang Tianshan turned his head and looked at Yi Qinghan and the two women. He suddenly realized something. Chapter 1873. Zhang Tianshan looked at Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinghan in shock. He didn't know what to say. Why did you lead them to me? Yi Qinghan went straight to the point and asked coldly. Zhang Tianshan looked like he was wronged. He clapped his hands and said, "Io, you have wronged me. Your marriage is destined by the heavens. What does it have to do with a fortune-teller like me?" When Yi Qinghan heard this, he was furious. He scolded, "You are the one destined by the heavens. Your whole family is destined by the heavens. Young man, you have to respect your elders. Marriage isn't something that I can decide. You are destined to be in love. All the best things in the world will be yours." Zhang Tianshan said seriously. "You, cram." Yi Qinghan was furious. He gritted his teeth and roared. "Okay." Zhang Tianshan was about to run. He didn't want to stay beside Green Lotus Sword Celestial. But Green Lotus Sword Celestial waved her hand and placed the wooden sword on Zhang Tianshan's neck. She told him to go back to the corner. Zhang Tianshan had a wretched expression. He was like a normal scammer. He dared to trick others, but he didn't dare to trick an eternal being. Even though he didn't know that the person in front of him was an eternal being who had killed an eternal being. "Is what you said true?" Green Lotus Sword Celestial squinted her eyes and asked. Zhang Tianshan nodded and smiled. "Of course, I wouldn't dare to lie to you. All the best things are his. What about me?" Green Lotus Sword Celestial asked coldly. "It's also his," Zhang Tianshan blurted out. "But..." Green Lotus Sword Celestial slapped Zhang Tianshan's face with the back of her sword. Two of his teeth were knocked out and his mouth was filled with blood. "Say it again or do some calculations," Green Lotus Sword Celestial said coldly. Zhang Tianshan's tears came out from his eyes. His face was burning with pain, but he didn't dare to touch it. His hand trembled as he took out the black bowl. He placed the copper coin in the bowl and shook it. He looked at the sky and opened the bowl to take a look. He sat on the ground and covered his face. He hugged his head and said, "The divination shows that this is the case. Don't hit me anymore. Are you saying that my husband is destined by the heavens and is also this stubborn trash? You still want to share him with the best in the world?" The cold flames in Green Lotus Sword Celestial's eyes could kill, causing Zhang Tianshan to curl up. He didn't even dare to look at Green Lotus Sword Celestial. Creak, creak, creak. The little golden monkey was also terrified. It hid in Zhang Tianshan's arms and occasionally peeked at Green Lotus Sword Celestial. This time, Yi Qinghan was not happy. What did he mean by being a mischievous piece of trash? If he was a mischievous good-for-nothing, would there be any good men in the world? Zhang Tianshan looked at Green Lotus Sword Celestial in fear and then looked at the two best. He trembled and said, "These two women are related to you. Can't you feel it?" This time, Green Lotus Sword Celestial and Yi Qinghan were both stunned. How could these two women be related to Green Lotus Sword Celestial? What relationship? Green Lotus Sword Celestial asked subconsciously. Zhang Tianshan also didn't understand. He only knew that Green Lotus Sword Celestial and the two best had a karmic relationship. This was just what the divination showed. He couldn't calculate the cause and effect because Green Lotus Sword Celestial was too strong and exceeded the range of his divination. Seeing Zhang Tianshan shake his head, Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Celestial couldn't help but stare at the Li sisters. Tsing tsing tsing. Suddenly, Green Lotus Sword Celestial stepped forward and grabbed the two women's arms, forcing them back. No wonder I didn't feel disgusted when I saw them. So it's like this, Green Lotus Sword Celestial said with a trembling voice. Yi Qinghan looked at the Green Lotus Sword Immortal in shock. He couldn't understand how the two supreme-grade cultivators could be related to the Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Based on their appearances alone, it was impossible for them to be related. Zhang Tianshan saw that Green Lotus Sword Celestial had found the karmic relationship and finally let out a sigh of relief. However, his face was still pale. He was afraid that Green Lotus Sword Celestial would stab him again. Just as Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Celestial were in a daze, Zhang Tianshan crawled around the corner and quickly ran away. He even threw away his flag. You guys follow me. Green Lotus Sword Celestial suppressed his shock and immediately said. With that, the four quickly left the downtown area and ran towards the outer area. After a long while, the four found an inn. Green Lotus Sword Celestial only asked for 2 rooms next to each other. Yi Qinghan was instantly delighted and said flatteringly, "My dear wife, have you thought it through and decided to follow the fate of marriage and live with me? Scram! I have something important that I must find out today." Green Lotus Sword Celestial didn't have a good expression and forcefully dragged the 2 best up the stairs. Heaven room, 2 large rooms facing each other. The waiter led the 4 to the door and quickly walked down. The pressure of the 4 was too strong and wasn't something a little brat could withstand. "Follow me in." Green Lotus Sword Celestial pulled Yi Qinghan and dragged the 3 into a room. He then closed the door and stared at Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan seriously. The 2 girls were scared by Green Lotus Sword Celestial's stare. They stepped back and hugged their chests. They said in unison, "Our beauty standards are very normal. Our sexual orientation is also normal. Don't have any ideas about us." Green Lotus Sword Celestial shook his head and coldly asked, "Your father is a cloud-piercing beast. Is your mother a woman transformed from a green lotus? Or is she? How do you know that my father is a cloud-piercing beast?" The 2 sisters asked in surprise. "Nonsense. If a middle-level cultivator can keep up with me, what else can he be if not a cloud-piercing beast?" Green Lotus Sword Celestial asked impatiently, "I'm asking about your mother. Answer me. When did your mother transform?" "My mother is a human. She's not a cloud-piercing beast. However, she once ate half a lotus core. I heard it's very expensive." Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Celestial's eyes lit up and they immediately became excited. They finally understood the crux of the problem. The reason why Yi Qinghan and the 2 girls were destined to be married was because of half a lotus core. The 2 girls' mothers ate half of Green Lotus Sword Celestial's lotus core, but the origin of the green lotus was passed into Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan's bodies. Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Celestial's marriage was destined to be together. This was why he was entangled with these 2 girls. Effortlessly obtaining half a green lotus core, this is really good news. Yi Qinghan excitedly pulled Green Lotus Sword Celestial and took the opportunity to kiss her lips in celebration. Green Lotus Sword Celestial was also overjoyed. Although half a lotus core had turned into an origin and was stored in their bodies, it could be refined again. She was in such a good mood that she didn't get angry, nor did she resist. She treated it as returning the promise of a kiss from before. Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan felt Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Celestial's fiery gazes. They quickly retreated and were very alert. Chapter 1874. Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan felt their hair stand on end as Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Yi Qinghan stared at them. Their gazes seemed to want to devour them. "What are you looking at? We are also humans, okay? Do you want to eat us?" Li Chenyu asked angrily. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes flashed with a cold light. She felt a little conflicted in her heart. Because their mother had eaten half of her lotus core, the lotus core's source was too strong, directly covering their parents' source. This was why Zhang Tianshan thought that they were the Green Lotus Sword Immortals, and that Yi Qinghan was destined to marry them. Now that half of the lotus core was in front of her, as long as she refined their source, she would be able to take it back. Seeing Green Lotus Sword Immortal's cold gaze, Yi Qinghan knew that Green Lotus Sword Immortal wanted to kill the two of them. He hurriedly stopped him and secretly transmitted, "These two aren't bad people. Their origins are a bit unclear. Since they were able to eat half of your lotus core, I'm afraid their mother is also extraordinary. Their father is also a shape-shifting expert. Who knows if he's an eternal sovereign or an upper realm expert? If we rashly offend them now, I'm afraid it won't be good." Green Lotus Sword Immortal shook his head and said expressionlessly, "It's very difficult. Waste of my time." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He was in a difficult position. Although he did not like the two, he could not take their lives just like that. Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan could see that Green Lotus Sword Immortal wanted to kill them and steal their source. Hua! Just as the two were about to rush out of the door, they were enveloped by a beam of light from Green Lotus Sword Immortal. They could not move at all. "Hey, hey, hey, how can you do this?" Li Luoyan screamed. Green Lotus Sword Immortal pulled the two back and said coldly, "The source in your body is mine. My source is far stronger than your parent. It directly covered your parents' inheritance. Right now, you are just my avatar. Let me remind you now. Do you have some special talents that have nothing to do with your parents? For example, you can release Green Lotus Sword Chi, or subconsciously use some of the profound mysteries of the Green Lotus Source." The two sisters were stunned and nodded. Then, they fiercely shook their heads and hurriedly explained, "This has nothing to do with us. I heard my father say that he accidentally obtained half a lotus core back then. He only knew that it contained a large amount of life force. My mother was also seriously injured, so he let her consume the lotus core. How did we know that it was yours? You can't kill us to take back the source." Yi Qinghan also hurriedly reminded, "The Green Lotus source in their bodies might not be complete. There will definitely be a portion in their mother's body. If we kill the two of them like this, we will definitely offend their parents. Is there any way to extract the source without harming their lives?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal frowned. Looking at the two trembling sisters, according to her usual personality, she would just kill them and take it back. But seeing that Yi Qinghan was unwilling to kill the innocent, she vaguely did not want to disappoint Yi Qinghan. "Don't resist. I will try not to harm your lives. Awaken the source that your parents passed down. This can replace my source. Your cultivation and talent will drop a lot, and you will not be able to use the profound mysteries of the Green Lotus source. However, your speed will be much faster. There are pros and cons," Green Lotus Sword Immortal said seriously. The two sisters wanted to resist, but they did not dare to. They could not resist. In the hands of an eternal sovereign, they were like ants. They were directly captured by Green Lotus Sword Immortal. No matter how they struggled, they could not move at all. Humph! Green Lotus Sword Immortal's jade-like hands pressed down on the two shoulders, forcing them to kneel on the ground. Their Green Lotus source was forcefully taken away again and again. It was as if their bodies were hollowed out. Their faces were ferocious and pale, making them even more terrifying and ugly. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's soul was extremely powerful. It was as if she was peeling silk from a cocoon. The Green Lotus source in their bodies was completely removed. Their fires of life were nearly extinguished, but she quickly formed seals and began to awaken the suppressed inheritances in their bodies. The cloud-piercing beast's greatest advantage was their speed and strength. But these two sisters' inheritances were suppressed by the Green Lotus source. They only had some of Green Lotus Sword Immortal's inheritances. Moreover, they could not learn them properly. Otherwise, if they truly learned the Green Lotus inheritances, their cultivation would be truly invincible in the same realm. Even Xia Jilong would be instantly killed. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The two's hearts wildly beat, almost surpassing their limits. A terrifying aura surged out of their bodies, as if it could destroy the world. A familiar yet strange source inheritance erupted from the bottom of their hearts. The impact caused the two sisters' souls to distort, nearly shattering them. Ah! The two screamed miserably. Their faces became even uglier, but Yi Qinghan discovered that their bodies and faces were changing. It was as if Green Lotus Sword Immortal was helping them reform their bodies. The two sisters were previously suppressed by their source, and they were unable to use their true source inheritance. This led to the formation of their bodies becoming deformed. It also led to the distortion of their sense of beauty, making them think that being fat was beautiful. Gradually, Yi Qinghan discovered that although the two's faces were still ferocious, they had already become normal people. Their bodies had also undergone earth-shattering changes. There was a faint pressure coming from their bodies. It was the pressure of a powerful and vicious creature. Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan's cultivation did not weaken as Green Lotus Sword Immortal had predicted. Instead, they became stronger. Green Lotus Sword Immortal had neglected 2 points. Although her source was powerful, the two sisters could not control it. Secondly, their parents' identities were probably terrifying. The strength of their cloud-piercing beasts might be at the level of eternal sovereigns. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's forehead was covered in sweat. She was extremely tired. She had to absorb their source and awaken it in their bodies without harming them. It seemed easy, but only she knew how dangerous it was. The slightest mistake would cause the two of them to die. Slowly, Green Lotus Sword Immortal clenched her hand and directly pulled out a wisp of green from their bodies. She then swallowed it into her stomach. Boom! Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal's cultivation rose in an instant. Her aura soared to the heavens. If not for the isolation of the room's array, perhaps the entire great world would be able to sense her aura. Yi Qinghan was so shocked by this aura that his hands and feet went numb. He actually could not control his own body. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's face was filled with joy. She said, "The half of the Green Lotus is very complete. Their mother has transferred the entire source of the Green Lotus to them." Just as Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal were celebrating, an ear-piercing scream suddenly resounded through the room. "How did I become so ugly? I don't want to live anymore. Give me back my beautiful face." Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at the Li sisters. He was also stunned by their appearance. After all, their appearance was personally molded by Green Lotus Sword Immortal, so it was definitely not bad. At this moment, they were the real beauties that could captivate the birds and beasts, overshadowing the moon and putting the flowers to shame. However, these two weirdos actually complained that they were ugly. Their shrill screams made it seem like they had been gang-raped countless times. Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Yi Qinghan were speechless. Chapter 1875. Li Chenyu and Li Luoyan were truly beautiful, but their sense of beauty was already distorted. They looked at themselves in the mirror and screamed exaggeratedly, begging Green Lotus Sword Immortal to change them back. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's fingertips trembled. He was so angry that he almost used violence. These two really didn't know what was good for them. Yi Qinghan looked at the two and thought of how they looked before. Although they were beautiful now, he couldn't think of anything. He waved his hand and said impatiently, "You are the beauties now. If you don't believe me, you can look to the east and let the world judge you. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, if my wife goes crazy, don't blame me for not being able to save you." The two were beautiful and their eyes flashed with light. They did have some of the temperament of Green Lotus. After all, they were beauties personally created by Green Lotus Sword Immortal. At this moment, they were conflicted and said unwillingly, "Husband, immortal Zhang said that you are our destined husband. How can you go against the will of the heavens and abandon us?" F***ck. Yi Qinghan's brows furrowed into a line. He wanted nothing more than to give that wretched Zhang Tianshan a good beating. The appearance of these two sisters gave Yi Qinghan too many nightmares. Even if their appearance changed, their nature in Yi Qinghan's heart didn't change. They were still the same ghostly appearance. If he were to live with them for the rest of his life, he definitely wouldn't be able to get it up. Two beauties, you two are as beautiful as flowers, capable of causing the downfall of countries and cities. How would I dare to have such improper thoughts? Moreover, Zhang Tianshan thought that the two of you are one because you have my wife's source in your bodies. That's why he found out that the two of you are destined by heaven. Actually, it is me and my Qinglian who are destined by heaven. How could I bear to make such a beautiful wife sad and have other concubines? Yi Qinghan thought for a long time and finally found a way to reject her. With that said, he casually placed his hand on Green Lotus Sword Immortal's waist and pulled her into his arms. His eyes were filled with the light of love as he stared at Green Lotus Sword Immortal and asked in the most gentle tone, "Isn't that right, my beautiful woman?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal was caught off guard and was forcefully pulled into Yi Qinghan's embrace. Seeing Yi Qinghan's serious expression, he was stunned for a moment, but he didn't resist. Perhaps he really wanted to help Yi Qinghan drive away these two women, so he expressionlessly nodded. The Li sisters were helpless, but they did not dare to provoke the Green Lotus Sword Immortal. They could only leave, feeling wronged. Creak, pa. After the door closed, Green Lotus Sword Immortal threw Yi Qinghan over his shoulder. He exerted force with his wrist and broke Yi Qinghan's wrist, almost tearing his entire arm off. Roar! Yi Qinghan's blood-curdling screams were like that of a pig being slaughtered. His face was deathly pale, and bean-sized sweat poured down from his body. This wasn't a simple shoulder throw or wrist break. This was a move that contained a large amount of supreme strength, and it carried a sharp and destructive power. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was very valiant. He threw Yi Qinghan over and said coldly, "This is a lesson for you. I realize that my words have no effect on you, so I will use my actions to warn you. If you dare to be rude to me again, Yi Qinghan held his arm, his face pale. He couldn't change the bones in his hand. The pain was heart-wrenching. Green Lotus. Quick, help me reattach it. F***ck, it hurts so much. Are you trying to kill me? Yi Qinghan wailed. Next time, do you dare to act recklessly without my permission? Green Lotus Sword Immortal asked coldly. Yi Qinghan was flustered and exasperated. He asked angrily, "When did I act recklessly? Don't you want to drive away those two women?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal was speechless. She really wanted to drive them away. Otherwise, how could she enter the tomb of the eternal sovereigns? Yi Qinghan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal's frowning and hesitating expression and immediately pleaded, "Green Lotus, be good. I can't stand it anymore. It hurts too much. Don't you know your own strength?" Yi Qinghan's entire right arm was drooping. He couldn't even lift it up. His face was deathly pale. Green Lotus Sword Immortal shrugged. She couldn't bear to see him like this. She waved her hand to erase the destructive power and reattached his bone. Hoo hoo hoo. Dong dong dong. Yi Qinghan took a few deep breaths. His expression changed. He pretended to be in pain. He slowly stood up along Green Lotus Sword Immortal's slender legs and weakly leaned on Green Lotus Sword Immortal's shoulder. He blew a mouthful of hot air and said, "I knew you would feel sorry for me. Let's rest early. We'll set off together tomorrow." With that, Yi Qinghan pulled Green Lotus Sword Immortal towards the bed. "Your bone is itchy again." Green Lotus Sword Immortal stared at Yi Qinghan and said word by word, "Your bone is itchy again. Schwa." Yi Qinghan instantly let go of Green Lotus Sword Immortal's arm. He turned around and rushed out of the room. That night, he tossed and turned. He recalled the smell of Green Lotus Sword Immortal. He couldn't fall asleep for a long time. He was in extreme pain. Unfortunately, Green Lotus Sword Immortal didn't seem to be able to accept his smell. He could only endure it for now. The next day, Yi Qinghan was the first to get up. The entire city was still asleep. The cool morning breeze blew his black hair. His handsome face revealed a trace of a smile. His eyes flashed as he looked at the War King Prefecture city in the morning. It was quiet and ancient. It was majestic and grand. He couldn't help but like this place. Rows of ancient pine trees reached into the clouds. They were dozens of meters tall and straight. The blue bird flew through the air like an arrow. At this moment, a black shadow slid past the side of the street and headed straight for the western district. The divine medicine was very thin and weak, but it was very fast. Even Yi Qinghan could only see a black shadow before it disappeared. Yi Qinghan rubbed his eyes. He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. However, as he watched that person leave, he couldn't help but sigh, so fast. I didn't think there were still experts who didn't enter the shrouding sky secret realm. Dong 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 dong. At this moment, there were a few slow knocks on the door. Yi Qinghan opened the door. It was Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Her face was like a peach blossom. Her skin was white with a hint of red. She was like a lotus flower that had just emerged from the water. There were no flaws at all. Her body was very hot as if it was carved by the heavens. Gulp. Early in the morning, Yi Qinghan walked over. The second master was so excited by Green Lotus Sword Immortal's smile and simple clothes that he raised his head. Green Lotus Sword Immortal curled her lips and looked down at Yi Qinghan. She raised her leg and was about to kick. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. He covered his crotch and immediately retreated. He shouted, "Are you trying to kill your husband? Do you want to be a widow? Humph. You only know how to talk. In the future, you will suffer because of your mouth. Stop talking nonsense. Let's go." Green Lotus Sword Immortal snorted. Yi Qinghan smiled ingratiatingly. He didn't care whether Green Lotus Sword Immortal agreed or not. He shamelessly ran to her side and grabbed her jade-like hand. He said vulgarly, "Sometimes my mouth will even serve you." If a woman didn't have any bad feelings towards a man, then the man would shamelessly chase after her. Most of the time, he would succeed. Perhaps the woman liked this kind of shamelessness. Therefore, Green Lotus Sword Immortal didn't do anything extreme. She allowed Yi Qinghan to pull her arm and they walked out of the room together. The two leisurely walked out of the inn. At this moment, the sky was already bright. The passers-by were all moving. At this moment, a black shadow appeared in Yi Qinghan's line of sight. This time, it was much slower. He was probably worried about attracting attention. "Follow him. There must be something wrong with this person," Yi Qinghan whispered into her ear. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's face turned slightly red. She looked at the back of the black-clothed man and followed him with Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1876. The black-clothed man quickly left the city. He didn't realize that Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Yi Qinghan were following him. After running out of the city, he found a quiet place to take off his black clothes and took out a flag from his storage ring. It was actually Zhang Tianshan's flag. Yi Qinghan was quite surprised. He didn't think that this wretched old man would be such a gentleman. The old man had a wretched look on his face. The golden monkey crawled out from his bloodline and sat on his shoulder. He held the flag and a long pipe as he slowly walked towards the south. Shua, Green Lotus Sword Immortal was too lazy to follow him and directly arrived in front of Zhang Tianshan. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The golden monkey was frightened by the sudden appearance of Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Zhang Tianshan was also shocked. The flag in his hand fell to the ground in fright. Sir! What a coincidence! You also came out for a stroll? Ha ha ha! Zhang Tianshan nodded his head and bowed. He was just short of kneeling down. Da Yi Qinghan stepped forward and smiled. Zhang Tianshan, everyone has a share. Take out the things you stole. The three of us will split them equally. Zhang Tianshan's hair stood on end. He turned to look at Yi Qinghan. That evil smile made one's hair stand on end. He thought to himself, impossible. They couldn't have found out that I stole things. They must be tricking me. Ha ha! Zhang Tianshan laughed awkwardly. He held the pipe in his mouth and rubbed it with his rough hand. He pretended to be calm and said, What things? Did you misunderstand? I am all alone and have the demeanor of an immortal. I make a living by telling fortunes. How could I steal other people's things? Yi Qinghan grinned coldly. Because he could tell the heavens, he hated these fortune-tellers. They thought that they could do whatever they wanted because they could control everything. Is that so? Then why did you run to the western region when the sun was still up? Did you really think I didn't see you dressed in black? Yi Qinghan retorted coldly. Zhang Tianshan was shocked, but his expression remained calm. He pretended to be calm as he said, I was just casually strolling around. Although the western district is a bit more prosperous, there isn't anything that can catch this old man's eye. If you have something to do, then go ahead and do it. This old man will go to another city to make a living. After saying that, Zhang Tianshan smiled at Green Lotus Sword Immortal and was about to run. Don't lie to me. If I find out, people who lie to me will never have a good ending. I'll give you one more chance to speak. Green Lotus Sword Immortal did not seem to have any emotional fluctuations in front of outsiders. She crossed her arms in front of her chest, her wooden sword in hand. The coldness in her eyes was frightening. Her emotional fluctuations would only erupt in front of Yi Qinghan. Perhaps it was happiness, or perhaps it was extreme anger. Zhang Tianshan trembled in fear. Although he didn't know what kind of existence Green Lotus Sword Immortal was, he knew that she was a transcendent existence. He didn't dare to provoke her. He quickly took out a box from his chest and awkwardly offered it up. He said with a flattering smile, My lord, don't be angry. This little one just took a treasure map. I heard that it's the tomb of some supreme eternal sovereign's parents. Yi Qinghan's lips twitched. He suddenly realized that this old man was quite bold. He actually wanted to steal the tomb of an eternal sovereign's parents. Green Lotus Sword Immortal took the box and opened it. Sure enough, it was a map. However, she had never seen the tomb before. Even someone as knowledgeable as her was surprised. The names of the places marked on the map were also unfamiliar. With the passage of time, some cities had already changed their names. There were too many things that she didn't know about. You even dare to steal the tomb of an eternal sovereign's parents? Green Lotus Sword Immortal carefully looked at the map and asked curiously. Zhang Tianshan shrunk his head and said humbly, I heard that it's the tomb of the Heavenly Demon Cult's cult master's parents. The Heavenly Demon Cult's cult master has been missing for so many years. Something must have happened to him. This map was hidden in a rich family's mansion in War King Prefecture. They didn't dare to steal it. So I took it. Yi Qinghan was excited. The tomb of an eternal sovereign's parents must contain peerless treasures. It might not be any less than a secret realm. He took the map and looked at it. However, he was confused. This map was a map of a mountain range. Although it was vast, he didn't know where this mountain range was. It would be very difficult to find it. Green Lotus Sword Immortal frowned and thought. The Heavenly Demon Cult's cult master, Tang Long. She had some impression of this person. This person didn't participate in the siege because Tang Long didn't have a good relationship with the people of the Holy Empire. However, this person was somewhat vicious and very powerful. His mysterious disappearance made Green Lotus Sword Immortal curious. I'm not interested in the tomb. However, I'm interested in the disappearance of the heavenly demon cult's cult master, Tang Long. Since there are some clues, let's look for it together. Green Lotus Sword Immortal said indifferently. When Yi Qinghan heard this, he immediately hid the map in his chest. Zhang Tianshan was speechless. However, he had no choice. He couldn't resist. He could only follow Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Great Immortal, you said that my wife and I are destined to be married. What's going on? Is it accurate? Come and tell me. Yi Qinghan was very friendly. He reached out and put his hand on Zhang Tianshan's shoulder. Humph! Green Lotus Sword Immortal snorted coldly. However, she didn't punish Yi Qinghan. Maybe she also wanted to know what was going on. Zhang Tianshan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal timidly. He realized that she actually didn't teach Yi Qinghan a lesson. He guessed that Green Lotus Sword Immortal probably liked this rookie. I can't reveal the secrets of heaven. Zhang Tianshan pretended to be mysterious and waved his hand. He wasn't willing to tell the truth. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He pushed Zhang Tianshan to the side and said with disdain, "If you don't want to say it, then so be it. I also know how to read fortunes. When I have free time, I'll do a good divination for myself." Yi Qinghan was speaking the truth. The Yin-Yang Xian race relied on fortune-telling. As long as one understood the Yin-Yang Xian record, their fortune-telling ability wouldn't be any weaker than Zhang Tianshan's. The Yin-Yang Xian race's ability isn't even worthy of carrying my shoes. If there was a Yin master or Yang master, then they might be on par with me. Zhang Tianshan replied proudly. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He asked in surprise, "How do you know that I'm related to the Yin-Yang Xian race?" Zhang Tianshan said proudly, "I make a living as a fortune-teller. I can naturally sense anything related to fortune-telling. The Yin-Yang Xian record is in your hands. That thing is the treasure of the Yin-Yang Xian race." However, after they moved to the land of the sinners, they declined. The first Yin-Yang master's cultivation was at the upper realm. However, they didn't like what they said and angered some people. In the end, the first Yin-Yang master died and they naturally declined. Yi Qinghan shrugged. It seemed like he had underestimated this wretched old man. Green Lotus Sword Immortal wasn't interested in these things. She kept moving forward. She wanted to get her life weapon and take back the other half of the Lotus Heart. Chapter 1877. The three of them remained silent as they traversed through the war race. The war race had a strong culture, but as long as the three of them didn't cause any trouble, they wouldn't provoke them either. The war race's territory was filled with mountains, rivers, and waterfalls. In terms of scenery and spiritual energy, it was even better than the Sword Dao sacred ground. The three of them traversed through the mountains, avoided the most prosperous sacred ground of the war race, and arrived at the Sword Dao sacred ground after a year. The heaven-suppressing prefecture city was peaceful. With Heaven Venerable Ranmo overseeing the city, no one dared to barge in. Yi Qinghan brought the two into the city, and no one stopped them. The generals guarding the city were surprised to see Yi Qinghan return. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, signaling them to stay back. He then brought Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Zhang Tianshan into the Kuang Manor. As soon as they entered the manor, Zhang Tianshan's eyes darted around. A wheel appeared in his hand and the wheel needle pointed towards the south. "There's a tomb, there are treasures. Gigi. The golden monkey was also jumping up and down as if it had made a great discovery. Yi Qinghan glanced at Zhang Tianshan, wondering if he was a tomb raider or a fortune-teller. He sure had a lot of people working for him. "Little brother, is there a large tomb in your city?" Zhang Tianshan wretchedly pulled Yi Qinghan over and tempted him. "This Tianshan is the best at opening tombs. No restriction talisman can stop me. If possible, we can work together and split the profits 50-50. How about it?" Yi Qinghan pouted. With Green Lotus Sword Immortal around, was there a need for him to open the restriction talisman? Don't even think about this tomb. Yi Qinghan firmly rejected Zhang Tianshan's suggestion. Hey, little brother, don't worry. This tomb is a mother-child tomb. You definitely didn't find the other tomb. With my many years of experience, I can tell that there are divine treasures in this tomb. As long as you can take all the treasures in the tomb, you will be able to enjoy a lifetime of wealth, Zhang Tianshan begged. Mother-child tomb? Yi Qinghan frowned. It wasn't a mother-child tomb, but an eternal being's tomb. There was only one eternal being buried in it, and there were also some treasures. Could it be that what he said was true? Is there really a grave for mother and son? Yi Qinghan looked at the Green Lotus Sword Immortal, wanting to seek her opinion. After all, the secrets hidden within that tomb were earth-shattering and earth-shattering. Then let's bring him over to take a look, Green Lotus Sword Immortal said indifferently. Zhang Tianshan didn't seem to know how to spell the word death. She trusted the Green Lotus Sword Immortal too much. The reason why she agreed so easily was because she wanted to silence him. Inside the tomb, Celestial Venerable Ranmo was overseeing it. He was also comprehending the Green Lotus Sword Song. Unfortunately, the Green Lotus Sword Song was too difficult to comprehend. Unless it was a fated person, they might not be able to comprehend it even if they spent their entire lives trying. After several hundred years, not only had Celestial Venerable Ranmo failed to comprehend a profound sword move, but he had also suffered from chi deviation. His face was ferocious, his breathing was chaotic, and his eyes were bloodshot. He stared fixedly at the sword on the corpse in the coffin, his divine sense in chaos. At that moment, Yi Qinghan led the Green Lotus Sword Immortal and Zhang Tianshan into the cave. Looking at Celestial Venerable Ranmo's vicious back, Yi Qinghan was shocked. He said, "Senior Ranmo, wake up!" However, Celestial Venerable Ranmo was already obsessed with that powerful sword move. He couldn't grasp the profound mysteries of its origin and could only sink deeper and deeper. Buzz! Yi Qinghan gripped the Rui bell and fiercely shook it. The bell's sound rumbled, blasting into Celestial Venerable Ranmo's sea of consciousness. Boom! The bell's sound exploded in Celestial Venerable Ranmo's sea of consciousness like a bolt of lightning, waking him up. Puff! The blockage in Celestial Venerable Ranmo's body couldn't be dispersed, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood essence. After the clotted blood was cleared, his complexion improved slightly. He turned to look at Yi Qinghan, the Green Lotus Sword Immortal, and Zhang Tianshan. He was shocked to discover that apart from Yi Qinghan, the other two were actually existences that could threaten his life. Younger brother Qinghan, these two are? Celestial Venerable Ranmo asked in shock. Celestial Venerable, these two are my friends. As soon as they came in, they saw that you were suffering from chi deviation, so they had no choice but to forcibly wake you up. Please don't be angry, Yi Qinghan explained. Celestial Venerable Ranmo had a grateful expression on his face. He said in a deep voice, "Younger brother Qinghan, you're flattering me. I didn't even have time to repay you for saving my life, so how could I resent you?" Green Lotus Sword Immortal nodded slightly and directly stepped towards the crystal coffin. Celestial Venerable Ranmo was intimidated by her aura and repeatedly retreated, panic and fear in his eyes. Yi Qinghan repeatedly gestured and said in a low voice, "You can trust this beauty. She's my friend. Senior, please sit aside and calm your chi and blood. Don't let the demonic intent plague you. It's not good for your future cultivation." Celestial Venerable Ranmo immediately nodded. The way he looked at Yi Qinghan changed. Previously, he had more or less looked down on him or didn't care at all, but now, he was full of gratitude. If it weren't for Yi Qinghan, he might have been crippled for the rest of his life. Green Lotus Sword Immortal solemnly fumbled with the rune restrictions on the crystal coffin. She stared at the vigorous face inside the coffin, the flames in her eyes condensing into a solid form. She clenched her fists and seethed with killing intent. An eternal sovereign. This corpse is actually an eternal sovereign. Zhang Tianshan jumped up in fright, his face deathly pale and his limbs trembling. He stared fixedly at the restriction runes on the coffin, sweat dripping from his forehead like rain. He murmured, "This is the most powerful rune restriction in the holy nation of Middle-earth. Rumor has it that only the direct descendants of the imperial family can use it. There's also a special restriction on the runes. If it's opened, it'll immediately alert the user of the forbidden art. It's best not to open this coffin." Yi Qinghan frowned and muttered, "If this tomb belonged to the imperial family of the holy nation of Middle-earth, why would it be buried in the eternal sacred land of Sword Dao? That's against the rules." Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes were like torches, piercing through all illusions and seeing the essence. He said indifferently, "This tomb was not originally buried here. It was just that the passage of time caused the Earth's crust to change, moving the tomb here. I'm afraid that the person who buried this coffin now does not know the true location of this tomb." Yi Qinghan was shocked. He didn't expect nature to be so powerful that it could move an eternal sovereign's tomb countless miles away. But Zhang Tianshan is right. We can't touch this restriction. Once we do, the sacred lord of the holy nation of Middle-earth will know that I've returned. Green Lotus Sword Immortal secretly transmitted to Yi Qinghan. He felt helpless. The sword was right in front of him, but he couldn't take it. It seemed he had to wait. "We've waited for a long time. Don't worry. It won't be too late to take the sword when we have the ability to defend ourselves." Yi Qinghan hurriedly comforted. Dong dong dong. Just as Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal were transmitting, Zhang Tianshan had already taken out a compass and was tapping on some bricks with the golden-haired monkey, trying to find the real tomb. Chapter 1878. Yi Qinghan watched as Zhang Tianshan casually knocked on the sealed door and patted the runic restrictions. The door actually opened with a whoosh. "This fellow is a professional tomb raider?" Yi Qinghan was shocked. He admired Zhang Tianshan. This tomb raiding ability was much greater than his own. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyebrows jumped up. He actually couldn't see how Zhang Tianshan opened the door. "How did you do it?" Yi Qinghan asked. "Ancestral divine techniques are only passed down to males and not females," Zhang Tianshan proudly said. Yi Qinghan shrugged and didn't ask any further. Within the sealed room was a study. It was filled with ancient books that contained large amounts of powerful profound laws. There were all sorts of profound mysteries of various major systems, and there were also profound mysteries of various grades. This tomb is the palace of the Holy Empire's Holy Lord's 10th disciple, Feng Yang. When they surrounded me, Feng Yang was killed by me. It's that corpse. I reckon the Holy Empire's Holy Lord used his palace to create this tomb. All of Feng Yang's wealth is here. His inheritance is also hidden in this tomb. Obtaining the inheritance of this palace is equivalent to becoming an eternal being." Green Lotus Sword Immortal secretly explained to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan inwardly nodded. This study could probably nurture a middle-level expert. If one's talent was good, becoming an upper-level expert wasn't impossible. Many powerful profound mysteries of sword techniques were placed on the table. Any one of them could shock the world. Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal closely followed Zhang Tianshan into the study. They looked around and saw many bookshelves filled with books. There were many times more books than the room Yi Qinghan had opened before. Moreover, the quality of these books was much higher. Shua. Just as Zhang Tianshan was feeling excited, Yi Qinghan grabbed and snatched away a large number of books with profound auras and laws. Only a few low-grade books were left. Zhang Tianshan was stunned. He pointed at Yi Qinghan and said angrily, "You brat, Didn't we agree on a 50-50 split? Yi Qinghan shrugged and said flatly, we were talking about the grave of the sky demon cult's saints' parents, not this. I was the one who discovered this grave, so why should we split it 50-50? Am I not being sincere enough by leaving you so much? Sincerity? Zhang Tianshan looked at the pile of trash that was left, and even if they were given to him, he would be disgusted. Then I won't open these doors, you can open them yourself, Zhang Tianshan said angrily. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal. She was an eternal sovereign. Could it be that she couldn't open these seals? However, Green Lotus Sword Immortal shook her head and said coolly, I don't know much about the seals of Eternal World. If I force my way in, I can open them. However, I will destroy the treasures inside. When Zhang Tianshan heard this, he raised his head proudly and said confidently, this kind of restriction is as simple as eating and drinking to me. If you can't give me a 50-50 split, you should at least give me some treasures. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips. He was somewhat reluctant to give the treasures to Zhang Tianshan. Back then, he had unconsciously opened a door. However, that was purely a coincidence. If he wanted to open these things now, he might really need Zhang Tianshan. Alright, you can continue opening them. Also, dig out the grave. Green Lotus and I will each pick one item from each room. Then, you can pick 2 items. The rest is mine, Yi Qinghan said helplessly. Picking 2 items from each room was a pretty good benefit. Zhang Tianshan thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. The way Zhang Tianshan opened the rooms was very strange. It looked very casual, but the door always opened. The golden monkey seemed to be quite proficient in seals. It slapped the door together with Zhang Tianshan and the runic seals on the door loosened. As expected, like master, like divine pet. Yi Qinghan shook his head. This golden monkey was a treasure. Its value was not much inferior to the divine bird. The second door was opened. It was actually an alchemy room. The room was very big. The fire in the alchemy furnace had been extinguished for many years. The dark alchemy furnace exuded an aura of vicissitude. It was as majestic as a mountain. It was as tall as 2 people. 3 to 5 men could carry it. There were several shelves around the room. There were jade bottles everywhere. They were filled with medicinal pills. Each bottle had a description of the pill. They were at least tier 16 pills. Tier 17 pills were everywhere. However, tier 18 pills were rare. There was not a single eternal god pill. However, there were some pill formulas. Yi Qinghan signaled Green Lotus Sword Immortal to choose first. Green Lotus Sword Immortal shook her head. The pills here were useless to her. She said, you choose for me. Yi Qinghan chose 2 bottles of the strongest tier 18 divine pills. They were life-type divine pills. With them, it was equivalent to having a few more lives. There was only 1 bottle of life-type tier 18 divine pills and 1 bottle of tier 18 soul-type divine pills left. Zhang Tianshan took them. The rest were all Yi Qinghan's. Zhang Tianshan could not help but be envious. Can you give me 2 more bottles of tier 17 divine pills? Zhang Tianshan saw Yi Qinghan keep all the divine pills and smiled flatteringly. Yi Qinghan wasn't stingy either. He casually tossed out a small bottle. The label on the bottle clearly stated that it was a profound supremacy core. After a peak middle-level expert's divine energy was completely depleted, a single profound supremacy core would allow him to return to his peak state in a short moment. Zhang Tianshan immediately flatteringly reached out and caught it. He hid it like a treasure. All the pills were swept away. Only this huge pill furnace was left. It was definitely top grade. With Yi Qinghan's cultivation, he might not be able to take it away. Sure enough, Yi Qinghan's feet stepped on the ground. The veins on his arms bulged. It was enough to pull up a mountain. However, he did not move the pill furnace. Yi Qinghan's face turned red and he roared, but he still didn't move an inch. Cough cough. Yi Qinghan's blood stopped. He coughed twice and looked at the pill furnace awkwardly. In the end, he could only ask Green Lotus Sword Immortal for help. Green Lotus Sword Immortal smiled faintly and said, "This is a pill furnace specially prepared for eternal sovereigns. If you can move it, then it is not a pill furnace used by eternal sovereigns. There is no rush to take it out now. Wait until we clear out everything in the tomb. I will help you take it out." Yi Qinghan nodded. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and took a few deep breaths. Only then did his blood and qi return to normal. As time passed, Zhang Tianshan opened all the rooms in the outer area of the tomb. The wealth he found was not something a strong sect could possess. Any mysterious divine ability could be auctioned for a high price. The only thing left was to find the child's grave. This was something only Zhang Tianshan could do. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was also curious. He could not see where else could there be another grave in this tomb. Yi Qinghan went straight to the point and said, "Find the child's grave. I will give you 10% of the wealth inside." "That's more like it." Zhang Tianshan solemnly rolled up his sleeves and walked deeper into the tomb with the golden monkey. Chapter 1879. The huge underground palace looked like a palace sunk into the ground. The underground palace was huge, but it looked like a tomb. There was no such thing as a mother or son tomb. Yi Qinghan looked again and again. He felt that Zhang Tianshan had miscalculated. Green Lotus Sword Immortal's divine sense probed the surrounding pure iron walls. He found that there were a large number of restrictions mixed within. Even an eternal being's divine sense couldn't penetrate them. But Zhang Tianshan confidently walked towards a wall that looked like it was made of pure iron. He had the golden monkey lie on the wall and tear it apart. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed a wisp of golden light. The golden monkey shined with a terrifying golden light. At this moment, the pure iron walls actually dimmed and lost their essence. With a light push, a door opened slightly. A dark and cold wind with immense vengeful energy surged out and entered Zhang Tianshan's mind. Zhi wah! Ugh! At this time, the golden monkey screamed and hurriedly fled. Zhang Tianshan's face was even more ferocious. A terrifying aura enveloped his divine sense like a mortal seeing a terrifying scene. He directly vomited, his face as white as paper, devoid of color. Ah! Zhang Tianshan was frightened beyond his ability to withstand. He hugged his head and screamed, his heart beating wildly. His body couldn't withstand it and his organs could explode at any moment. "Wake up!" Green Lotus Sword Immortal shouted. He swept his soul into Zhang Tianshan's soul. The terrifying scene in Zhang Tianshan's divine sense was finally pushed back by Green Lotus Sword Immortal. He completely woke up. He crawled and rolled like a demon, crawling to Green Lotus Sword Immortal's side. He shouted in fear, "That place is even more terrifying than hell. It's simply a Jura hell. Let's seal it up." Yi Qinghan was shocked. The door had only been opened a little, but it had scared Zhang Tianshan to such an extent. He couldn't help but look at the door. That cold, baleful aura carried with it boundless resentment, as if countless lives had died here. Moreover, they had died in humiliation, causing them to be unable to reincarnate after death. In the end, it had become an azura field, even more savage than malicious ghosts, without a shred of humanity. Through a crack, he seemed to see an endless abyss. Green Lotus Sword Immortal frowned as he looked at the crack. He could sense that there was a terrifying existence hidden within the crack. Once it rushed out, it would definitely shake the heavens and earth and destroy the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal stepped on a green light, and a wisp of divine charm enveloped her. She stepped in front of the door and pushed it open with a wave of her hand. She used a wisp of green lotus barrier to block the door, preventing the baleful aura from rushing into the outside world. She raised her eyes to look at the deep and dark grave. She couldn't even see her fingers in front of her, but her divine sense could see everything clearly. His expression changed. Yi Qinghan arrived beside Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Because of the Green Lotus enchantment, he didn't feel the terrifying aura. Therefore, he controlled a wisp of true dragon fire essence and entered the child tomb with a flick of his finger. The horrifying scene appeared in front of him, impacting his retina. Puff! This instant visual impact caused Yi Qinghan to spit out a mouthful of blood essence. His blood essence surged, and his vision darkened as he nearly collapsed. What appeared in front of his eyes were twisted corpses. Their hands were completely deformed, and the scratches on the walls were shocking. They must have suffered endless fear and torture before they died. The child tomb was filled with bones. 10,000 corpses? 100,000 corpses? The deep child tomb stretched on endlessly. The heads of the corpses all had the same expression. It was fear, anger, and craziness. Their mouths were wide open, and their 5 fingers had almost pierced into the iron walls before they died. This was the child tomb. They were only buried with the dead. Who was buried with the dead? Green Lotus Sword Immortal's eyes narrowed into a line. She clenched her fists. Seeing so many corpses piled up like a mountain and being tortured before they died, these people were most likely not the family members of the Saint Lord of the Central Earth Holy Empire's 10th disciple, but people of the Great Shang world. They had been dead for too long, and there was no way to determine their identities. Green Lotus Sword Immortal felt a heart-wrenching pain in her heart. If these people were really people of the Great Shang world, then their identities were most likely related to her. Resentment and killing intent intertwined, crashing into Green Lotus Sword Immortal like a wave. Mournful screams came from the depths of the child tomb. It sounded like the howling of the wind, but also like the howling of the devil. Woo woo woo. Hua. Scenes that seemed to have happened for countless years slowly appeared in Yi Qinghan and Green Lotus Sword Immortal's minds, tormenting their souls. Green Lotus Sword Immortal was only in pain, but Yi Qinghan's soul felt like it was being cut by a knife. His soul was extremely weak compared to Green Lotus Sword Immortal, so he could only hold his head and scream. Central Earth Holy Emperor, you are too cruel. Green Lotus Sword Immortal fiercely said to himself. Indeed, there were so many people buried alive in the child tomb. There were no resources, no light, no law mysteries, and no reincarnation great Tao. These experts were like weak lambs here, waiting to be slaughtered. The fear, anger, and despair they felt was infinitely magnified here. It wouldn't be wrong to say that this place was an Azura's field. There was no place more terrifying than this. Endless resentment, killing intent, and negative energy gathered here. This place had probably already formed an inhumane and powerful existence that was as powerful as an eternal being. It was formless, heartless, and had no flaws. There was only slaughter and revenge. The world would probably change. Yi Qinghan held his head and roared, Green Lotus, seal it up. With our cultivation, there is no way for us to cleanse the Azura here. Green Lotus Sword Immortal took a deep breath and nodded. He waved his hand and sealed the iron wall. Then, he had the frightened Zhang Tianshan lay down a restriction outside. He had a deep understanding of restrictions. If he could open the previous one, he could definitely lay down a better one. Zhang Tianshan trembled as he laid down the restriction. His face was pale and his hands and feet were trembling. It seemed that he was badly frightened. The little golden monkey was the first to be attacked by the terrifying aura. At this moment it was jumping around like a madman in the underground palace. After Zhang Tianshan laid down the restriction, Green Lotus was still worried and laid down another layer of restriction outside. This restriction belonged to the Great Shang world and was fundamentally different from the restriction Zhang Tianshan laid down. Hoo hoo hoo! Dong dong dong! Yi Qinghan let out a few breaths of resentment. He was glad that he didn't open the child tomb before. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Don't tell anyone what happened here today. This is called the mother-child soul refining tomb. It is the most vicious burial tomb. A large number of enemies are buried in the child tomb. They will suffer endless torture and die tragically in the child tomb, forming terrifying asuras that guard the mother tomb. Once someone enters the mother tomb and discovers the child tomb, they will be instantly killed after opening the child tomb. The terrifying existence in the child tomb will occupy the golden body in the mother tomb. It will be like a resurrection. It will only have the body but not the soul. Under normal circumstances, those who create the mother-child soul refining tomb are experts whose loved ones have died. They will only go crazy because they miss them so much. Green Lotus Sword Immortal said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan and Zhang Tianshan couldn't help but look at each other. Finally, they looked at the corpse in the crystal coffin. Was this person only a master and disciple relationship with the Middle-earth Saint Lord? Not a father and son relationship. Chapter 1880. The underground palace was as quiet as hell. Not a single sound could be heard. Yi Qinghan, Blue Lotus, Zhang Tianshan, and Lord Ranmo's expressions changed slightly. They didn't expect the Saint Lord of the Central Continent to be so cruel. He used the lives of countless experts to build the mother-child soul-refining tomb and used endless fear, despair, and evil qi to protect the mother tomb. Isn't he afraid of forming an irresistible existence? Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. His voice was filled with fear. He had only taken one look at hell, and the majority of the evil aura and baleful aura had been blocked by Green Lotus Sword Immortal. Even he was scared witless. One could imagine that without Green Lotus Sword Immortal, his soul wouldn't have been able to withstand the impact. Zhang Tianshan's face was still as pale as paper. His cultivation level should be in the upper level, but he was still scared out of his wits. If it wasn't for Green Lotus Sword Immortal, he would have died just now. The golden monkey laid on the ground weakly, unable to get up. It was in a state of extreme anxiety and despair. After a long time, Green Lotus Sword Immortal picked up the golden monkey and comforted it with his powerful soul power. Only then did the golden monkey recover and snuggle into Green Lotus Sword Immortal's arms. Let's go. This place is no longer valuable, only dangerous. Green Lotus Sword Immortal said decisively. Dong dong dong. Yi Qinghan and the others' heartbeats filled the surroundings. Looking around, there was only one crystal coffin left in the underground palace. Green Lotus Sword Immortal also said that if one wanted to comprehend the Green Lotus Sword song, they wouldn't be able to do so even if they stayed here for thousands or tens of thousands of years. There was even the possibility of chi deviation, just like Ranmo. The four of them quickly left the underground palace and sealed it completely. Even the entrance was blocked. Just when Yi Qinghan was still in the heaven-suppressing palace city, a ray of light suddenly burst out from the heaven-shrouding secret realm. Spiritual energy shot up to the sky and the vast spiritual energy shrouded countless experts. Everyone was bathed in the saint light and their pores opened up as they desperately absorbed the spiritual energy. Their souls were cleared and many of them broke through to the middle level. At this time, there were at least a few thousand middle-level cultivators in the shrouding sky secret realm. Lin Wutian's advantage was greatly reduced. However, the only good news was Zhou Yi from the insane sex camp. This veteran expert at the peak of the lower plane had broken into the middle plane. This meant that the insane sect had 2 middle plane experts and 3 more lower plane experts. At this time, the sky changed color and the clouds surged. Countless true experts flew into the sky and rushed toward the place where the light had erupted. Flying Immortal Elixir. The Flying Immortal Godly Medicine has appeared, ha. The Flying Immortal Divine Herb belongs to our holy empire of the Central Plains. Amitabha, the immortal medicine belongs to those who are fated to obtain it. My Buddha is merciful and is willing to use the immortal medicine to benefit the world. Everyone, please restrain your greed. A series of rumbling sounds seemed to come from the primal chaos, surging in all directions. Every single person who wanted to seize the flying immortal divine herb was a top-notch existence from powerful sects, clans, and the various holy lands. Especially the 100 great clans. They had never had an eternal expert and had always been suppressed. If they had the flying immortal divine herb, their status would definitely rise 100 times. Even the old holy lands would have to give them some face. The number 1 rogue cultivator, Zhuo Shuguang, flashed with light. He held the mountain river painting in his hand and looked disdainfully at everyone. His eyes were full of excitement as he looked at the location of the immortal medicine. It seemed that he would also compete with the Holy Lands. As the number 1 rogue cultivator, Zhuo Shuguang was already at the peak of the lower plane and could fight against the Flame Emperor bird. Now that he had advanced to the middle plane, his cultivation was definitely not inferior to Lin Wutian's. He had the qualifications to be greedy, but he was also a smart person. It was impossible to fight against so many holy lands alone unless he wanted to die. With so many holy lands competing, the death rate will definitely rise again. The earlier one fights, the earlier one dies. I'd better wait. Zhuo Shuguang took a deep breath and approached the location of the immortal medicine, but he did not participate in the fight. At the location of the Kuang sect, Lin Wutian was leading the team. At this moment, his eyes were also full of light. It was impossible to say that he was not tempted. However, Lin Wutian did not decide on his own. Instead, he looked at Emperor Yi Yanao, Gu Qinyu, Zhou Yi and the others and asked in a low voice, "Master, Lil Miss, Seniors, when should we start?" Yanao and the others were still thinking, but Zhou Yi waved his hand and said, "Everyone, it's not that I'm looking down on our team, but I advise you not to have any thoughts about the immortal medicine. In this fight, the Holy Lands, and the powerful sects may all be wiped out. If we go, we'll just be cannon fodder." However, the Kuang sect had always been a group of people who would fight for treasures. They were not afraid of death and were very confident. Therefore, they did not care about Zhou Yi's reminder. "Fight, we must participate in the fight. It depends on how we fight," Yan Ao said firmly. "Where did boss go? Such an important thing happened, why didn't he show up?" Huang Peng asked with some surprise. Only then did everyone react and looked at Lin Wutian. When Yi Qinghan left, he only summoned Lin Wutian. Only Lin Wutian knew where he was going. Lin Wutian's heart sank, but in order not to affect everyone's mood, he did not say the truth. He said casually, "He left the shrouding heaven's secret realm for some matters. He probably won't participate in the immortal medicine. We have to rely on ourselves for this matter." Yan Ao and Emperor Yi did not know that Yi Qinghan had left the secret realm because he was seriously injured, let alone the others. Therefore, everyone did not care. As long as Yi Qinghan was still alive, the unity of the Kuang sect would not disperse. Lower-level cultivators, follow the main group and find a safe place to hide. Don't participate in the fight. Lower-level cultivators and middle-level cultivators, get close to the flying immortal elixir and watch the tigers fight. Wait for an opportunity to strike. As for when to strike, we'll see how it goes. Yan Ao glanced around. There were not many experts in the Kuang sect, but they were skilled. Lin Wutian alone was equivalent to several middle-level experts, not to mention Zhou Yi, 7 lower-level experts, and Emperor Yi and Bai Xiaosheng's reincarnation. They were all dragons and phoenixes among men. Presumably, they were qualified to fight for the immortal medicine. Let's go. Don't let others take it first. Bai Xiaosheng's reincarnation said excitedly. He did not care about how dangerous it was to fight for the immortal medicine. Emperor Yi also made a solemn vow. He wanted nothing more than to go and seize the celestial medicine right now. Lin Wutian was also deep in thought. Now that Yi Qinghan was not here, he had to be responsible for the lives of the Kuang sect. He could not let anyone die in vain. Leave one lower-level expert. Senior Mu Zhuang, you stay. There are so many people in the Kuang sect. Without a lower-level expert, it might be dangerous. Lin Wutian thought for a while and decided to leave Mu Zhuang behind. Although Mu Zhuang wanted to participate in the fight for the immortal medicine, he could not refuse Lin Wutian's request. In the end, he could only nod and agree. After Mu Zhuang left, Lin Wutian, Yan Ao, and the others quickly rushed away with the lower-level experts of the Kuang sect. Zhou Yi naturally followed. A group of 10 people rushed to the place where the immortal medicine erupted like lightning. At this moment, more and more experts were approaching. Their fighting spirit was soaring. All of them were invincible kings. Now, the slightly weaker sects took the initiative to retreat, not daring to participate in the fight. Chapter 1881. With the appearance of the elixir, all living beings retreated. The setting sun hung in the sky, and the afterglow shrouded half of the secret realm. This was an elixir that could not be seen in millions of years. Based on the time, the day of the secret realm's opening was about to arrive. Just as they expected, this time it really happened. The true kings went crazy, but the weak ones were scared and did not dare to get close. They only wanted to escape from the inside to the outside, afraid that they would be killed by the aftershocks of the invincible kings. The 10 people from the crazy sect held their divine weapons and approached slowly. The experts from all directions were so powerful that the sector lord did not dare to cheat them. The invincible saint rushed into the clouds, who said that the middle level could not fly. No one in the same level could fight against such an existence. Whoosh, Zhua Shuguang soared into the sky, and the painting was even more captivating under the background of the secret realm. Zhan Jiuxiao, the Arhat, Xia Yunxue of the Middle Earth Holy Nation, 22 saint children, they were definitely the kings of kings. Even someone like Jian Shisan couldn't be considered a true saint child. The supreme sword saint from the Holy Land of the Sword wielded a towering heavenly sword, descending like a god of war. Unsheathing his sword, he killed a middle-level elder from a powerful sect. His name shook the 10 directions, and everyone was overwhelmed with shock. Jian Shirsi was about 2 meters tall, and his figure was indescribably delicate. He was vigorous and majestic, like a natural king. His straight waist was like a javelin, and his eyes were as bright as the moon. This was the supreme saint that the Holy Land of the Sword Way had nurtured. He was not only the disciple of the Holy Land of the Sword Way, but also the son of the Holy Land of the Sword Way. Jian Shisan was just a cover. As for Jian Shirsi's real name, other than himself and the Holy Land of the Sword Way, no one knew. Everyone called him Jian Shirsi. At this moment, he brought some experts from the Holy Land of the Sword Way. His eyes carried the aura of a king, and some of the older experts of the strong sects could not help but retreat. The Holy Land of the Sword Way has indeed hidden experts. Everyone was shocked when they saw Jian Shirsi and Jian Shisan beside him. Whoosh! The Holy Land of the Martial Way, the current saint, Wu Qingkong, could turn the world into emptiness with a single thought. Wherever he was, no one dared to say that they had reached the peak of the Martial Way. Yaya, my great-grandson is here too, Wu Xing and Emperor Yi said at the same time. Wu Qingkong was flying in the air, his martial arts rumbling. When he heard the conversation between Wu Xing and Emperor Yi, he lost control of his body and fell from a height of more than 20 meters. It was very embarrassing. Wu Xing and Emperor Yi waved their hands and shouted, "Great-grandson, come here." Wu Qingkong's handsome face revealed a trace of embarrassment. He scratched his head and said with a wry smile, my two little ancestors, why are you here? Did the ancestor allow you to come in? Yo, you're so young and yet you want to teach your ancestor a lesson? Are you itching for a beating? Wu Xing asked arrogantly with her hands on her hip. Wu Qingkong's expression changed slightly. There was fear in his eyes. For so many years, there was no one in the world who did not give him face. Only these two little brats beat and scolded him. Moreover, they especially liked to bully him. Just looking at these two gave him a headache. The people around looked at Wu Qingkong's bitter face and laughed at him. Wu Qingkong wanted to dig a hole in the ground. Lin Wutian held his divine sword and stood beside Emperor Yi to protect him. He whispered, "Lil Miss, can we trust this Wu Qingkong? Maybe we can work together." Emperor Yi hesitated. Wu Qingkong served the martial perfected cultivator's sacred ground. If they really worked together to take the celestial herb, he might want to keep it for himself and send it to the sacred ground. Guangzong would not benefit from it. Although she was the saintess of the sacred ground, her heart was with Yi Qinghan. However, Wu Xing had not recovered her memory. When she heard that they were going to work together, she immediately patted her chest and said, "Of course we can trust my dear grandson. Let's work together." Emperor Yi pursed his lips and sent a telepathic message, "We can work together. When the time comes, you can intimidate him. He will probably choose to share the celestial herb with Guangzong." When Lin Wutian saw Emperor Yi nod, he secretly decided to work together with the martial perfected cultivator's sacred ground. At this moment, the experts were not stupid. They did not make the first move. Instead, they surrounded the celestial herb and waited for an opportunity. The strongest was Xia Yunxue from the holy nation of Middle Earth. He was Xia Zhilong's nephew. In terms of talent and combat strength, he was only slightly inferior to Xia Zhilong. However, because the celestial herb's spiritual energy was too strong, his combat strength increased again after he entered the middle level. There were not many people in the secret realm who could compete with him. Xia Yunxue looked like a god and his aura was like an emperor. He looked down at everyone and said coldly, "This celestial herb belongs to the holy nation of Middle Earth. If you give me some face, I will remember it. Get lost. A piece of trash like you dares to talk about face here? Do you think you are Xia Zhilong?" The supreme king of the Oshi sacred ground stepped into the battle zone with 9 mad tigers. 3 of them were in the middle level and the rest were in the lower level. It seemed that the Oshi sacred ground had benefited a lot from the appearance of the celestial herb. No wonder they did not give Xia Yunxue any face. Amit Ba. Xia Yunxue, this is the shrouding secret realm, not the eternal world. Even if it is the holy nation of Middle Earth, you can't do whatever you want. Buzz. In an instant, Buddhist light shrouded the area and the heaven and earth became peaceful. Everyone looked up and saw that the Arhat's cultivation had also reached the middle level. There were 3 immortal Buddhas beside him who were also in the middle level. In terms of middle level, they had the most number. Following that, the jailer of hell walked over with a 3-headed dog. His face was gloomy and his eyes were deep. It was as if he had entered the reincarnation hell. One look at him would cause one to lose consciousness. The weak did not even have the courage to look at him. Stop talking nonsense. The eternal world has always been a place where the strong are respected. The one with the biggest fist is the destined one. Since everyone wants to get the celestial herb, then clear out some of the trash. The rest will be decided by a battle to the death. Zhang Jiuxiao's battle intent soared to the sky. As expected of the battle tribe, he decided the people who would participate in the battle with just one word. Among the 3,000-strong sects, only the real 30-strong sects could participate. Among the 100-strong sects, only 20+ could participate. The rest were the Holy Lands. The rest were all trash who had no qualifications to compete for the celestial herb. Humph! Some of the strong sects were not convinced and snorted coldly to show their dissatisfaction. Zhuo Shuguang smiled indifferently. Holding the landscape painting, he looked up at the top of a mountain. His white robe swayed in the wind. He calmly glanced at the Holy Lands and some of the forces who were qualified to participate in the battle. He said indifferently, "Now is the time to talk about the qualifications to participate in the battle. The strong are respected, the winner survives, and the weak are eliminated. If some of you do not have the self-awareness, then don't blame yourself for not being able to escape in time when the battle begins." Lin Wutian squinted at Zhuo Shuguang. Zhuo Shuguang also saw Lin Wutian. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he transmitted his voice. "Brother Lin, you are not a holy land. It is impossible for you to monopolize the celestial herb. If you and I join hands, we will definitely sweep all sides. When the time comes, I will take 30% and you will take 70%. Chapter 1882. Lin Wutian's eyes lit up when he heard Zhuo Shuguang's proposal. He was tempted to join forces with Wu Chenkong. He might not even be willing to get 10%, let alone 50%. Zhuo Shuguang was the #1 lone cultivator. His cultivation was not inferior to the saints, and his combat strength was not inferior either. If they joined forces, he would only get 30%. This was a fair deal. "Lil Miss, do you want to join forces with Zhuo Shuguang? If he wants 30%, we will get 70%. Lin Wutian sent a message to Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi frowned slightly. Although he was Emperor Yi, he was still the saintess of the martial supremacy sacred ground. In terms of seniority, Wu Chenkong was indeed his great-grandson. If he gave up on his own family and joined forces with outsiders, he might not be able to explain it to martial supremacy. Lin Wutian knew the reason when he saw Emperor Ye's expression. He was an extremely intelligent person. He did not immediately agree to Zhuo Shuguang's proposal. Instead, he said that he needed to think about it. Zhuo Shuguang was not in a hurry. As long as Lin Wutian was a smart person, he would definitely choose to cooperate with Zhuo Shuguang. Emperor Yi stretched out his hand and called Wu Chenkong over. Wu Chenkong did not dare to disobey, and could only run over. As a saint, he was probably the most miserable one. "Little ancestor, what are your orders?" Wu Chenkong smiled flatteringly. Emperor Yi grinned and said, "Good grandson, are you confident that you can get the celestial herb from so many people?" Wu Chenkong looked at the experts around him. There were close to 50 saints and saintesses. These people were the top geniuses of the sacred ground. Their combat strength was about the same. Even if the saints had a slight advantage over the saintesses, it would be a piece of cake for 2 saintesses to defeat 1 saint. Wu Chenkong was no exception. Therefore, he quickly shook his head and said, "Little ancestor, no one is 100% sure that they will be able to obtain the celestial herb. There are 45 saint sons and saintesses. Including the #1 rogue cultivator, these 46 people have similar cultivation and combat strength. In addition, there are also the chief disciples of the powerful clans in the Holy Spirit grounds, and more than 30 people from the Paragon sects. These 100 people are the main force in obtaining the celestial herb. Most of them are in the middle realm. Even if they are in the lower realm, they are invincible in the same realm. This place is quite dangerous. Little ancestor, please leave this place first. Otherwise, if a battle breaks out, I will not be able to protect you." "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Does the little ancestor need your protection? Your ancestor gave us defensive magic treasures. We don't have the strength to snatch the immortal medicine, but if you want to kill us, even if you work together, you won't be able to break through my defense," Emperor Yi said proudly. Wu Chenkong smiled flatteringly and said, "Little ancestor, it's best if you can protect yourself. However, it's better to leave this place. Then, Wu Qingkong glanced at Lin Wutian and the others. He frowned and asked, "Little ancestor, which small force are these people from? There are actually 2 Middle Realm cultivators. Can you believe it? If you can, let them help me obtain the celestial herb. After we leave the secret realm, I will report to the ancestor and reward them with some secret technique." Sure enough, Wu Qingkong was used to being high and mighty. He looked down on this group of people from the arrogant sect. He only wanted to use them as if they were beggars. He wanted to reward them with some treasures and monopolize the celestial herb. Slap! Emperor Yi reached out and slapped the back of Wu Qingkong's head. He said arrogantly, "You brat, you have no respect for your elders. This Middle Realm cultivator is my disciple. He is much older than you. How can you talk to your elders like that?" The corner of Wu Qingkong's mouth twitched. He was very embarrassed, but he could not get angry with his little ancestor. He looked at Lin Wutian in surprise. He was amused and puzzled. He asked, "Little ancestor, when did you accept this disciple? How come I don't know?" The seniority of Renhuang Yi and Wu Xing'er was indeed frighteningly high. However, in terms of age, Wu Qingkong was definitely much older than the two of them. Wu Qingkong had watched the two of them grow up. They had never left his sight. It was only natural that Wu Qingkong would be suspicious. "I accepted him in my previous life. Is that okay?" Emperor Yi shouted impatiently with his hands on his waist. Wu Qingkong laughed and nodded. He did not dare to ask any more questions. At this moment, the overlord's auras were soaring. They were waiting for an opportunity to strike. Now, it was time to see who could not wait to make the first move. Once they made the first move, it would be equivalent to blowing the horn of war. This battle would be a meat grinder for the kings. Even the saint would die. No one would show mercy to the fairer sex. The death rate would be even higher than the saint. Lin Wutian felt the atmosphere change. The mysterious laws around him were distorted. Immortal light covered the sky and earth. Under the rays of the setting sun, the space was clearly distorted. Knowing that the battle would break out at any time, he went straight to the point. "Saint Marshal, are you willing to join forces with my insane sect to seize the celestial herb? Together with Zhuoshuguang, both of you will get 50%. My insane sect will get 50%. The corner of Wu Qingkong's eyes twitched. He looked at Lin Wutian as if he was looking at an idiot. A small sect and a sacred ground were joining forces to seize the celestial herb. The small sect wanted 50%. A sacred ground and the number 1 rogue cultivator would only get 50%. Are you kidding? Are you looking down on my martial Tao perfected sage sacred ground or the number 1 rogue cultivator? Wu Qingkong's voice was deep. He was extremely dissatisfied as he questioned coldly. Lin Wutian did not have the slightest intention of changing his mind. Instead, he said calmly, "The insane sect will take 50%. I am not kidding. Naturally, I do not mean to look down on Zhuoshuguang and your sacred ground. If you doubt that the insane sect is qualified to take 50%, you can ask your 2 little ancestors." Wu Qingkong was so angry that his breathing became unstable. The martial Tao around him roared, and the sword in his hand trembled slightly. His fingertips moved the hilt of the sword as he stared coldly at Lin Wutian. Boom! Lin Wutian immediately moved the hilt of the sword. The sound of the sword accompanied by the roar of the sword Tao soared to the 9 heavens. The surrounding rocks were immediately shattered. If you don't want to cooperate, then so be it. On the battlefield, if you are not a friend, then you are an enemy. Take care of yourself. Lin Wutian said coldly. Wu Qingkong immediately retreated a few steps. His eyes were filled with vigilance. He said to Emperor Yi and Wu Xing'er, "My 2 little ancestors, you should hurry up and come with me. This person's origin is unknown and his cultivation is extremely strong. I'm afraid he has other intentions." Idiot! Emperor Yi was a little anxious. He hoped that Lin Wutian would bring Wu Qingkong along to snatch the immortal herbs. If they could get 30%, that would be 3 immortal pills. It would be possible for them to become 3 eternal sovereigns. At the very least, they should have 1 more eternal sovereign. An additional eternal sovereign in the eternal sacred ground would be a powerful force. Their status in the sacred ground would naturally rise by a lot. When that time came, their resources would more than double. Lin Wutian did not want to communicate with Wu Qingkong anymore. He transmitted his voice to Zhuo Shuguang, "Happy working with you." Zhuo Shuguang smiled faintly and replied, "Happy working with you." Boom! Just as the insane sect and Zhuo Shuguang reached an agreement, the Arhat led the 3 sacred Buddhas and charged into the valley where the immortal light soared to the sky. Riding on the goshawk, they shattered the rocks and forced some of the stronger sects to retreat. Whoosh! Xia Yunshui attacked with her sword. The sword light cut through the mountains and rivers, heading straight for the Arhat. Someone had made a move. The stronger sacred grounds naturally did not want to fall behind. Hell and the Sword Dao sacred grounds Jian Shursi also attacked. His sword swept across all directions. Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang looked at each other. Lin Wutian then said to the insane sect, "Zhuo Shuguang and I will work together. The rest of you stay outside and provide support. Do not interfere in the battle of the Middle Realm." Chapter 1883. When kings went to battle, not even a blade of grass grew. The setting sun shrouded the sky, and blood dyed half the sky red. Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang joined forces to kill their way into the battle zone. The rest of the crazy sect retreated, not because they were afraid of death, but because they did not want to make unnecessary sacrifices. Zhou Yi, who was in the Middle Realm, protected the others as they retreated. "Leave this place. Only Wutian can fight here," Yan Ao said in a deep voice. The invincible king of soldiers, more than 40 saints' sons and saintesses, all joined the battle. The chief disciples of the supreme sects and the young masters of the 100 great clans all joined the fray. They were all people with extraordinary talents and had the support of countless resources. They walked further and faster than ordinary people. No one tried to be brave. The crazy sect had too few people, and they could not afford to lose them. Therefore, Emperor Yi, Gu Qingyu, and Jiang Jingtian all agreed to retreat. The moment Lin Wutian made his move, Wu Qingkong's expression changed greatly. He was secretly regretting it. Perhaps cooperating with him was the best choice. However, now that Zhuo Shuguang and Lin Wutian had joined forces, it did not matter whether Wu Qingkong was there or not. The two were invincible. No one could stop them except the saints and saintesses, the chief disciples of the supreme sects, and the supremes of the great clans. Lin Wutian became a dark horse, just like Zhuo Shuguang. He tore through the shackles in the darkness and was extremely dazzling. The saints and saintesses of the various sacred grounds were quite surprised. Who is he? Many saints were too lazy to watch the battle between the crazy sect and the Oshi sacred ground, so they did not know Lin Wutian. However, the people of the Oshi sacred ground recognized Yi Qinghan. He was only in the realm of the sector lord 200 or 300 years ago. They did not expect him to reach the middle realm after 300 years and become the king of soldiers. He is Lin Wutian, a young disciple of the crazy sect who killed Yi Jiaxing in one strike when he was in the realm of the sector lord. The people of the Oshi sacred ground looked at Lin Wutian with hatred and killing intent burning in their eyes. Arthur Shun was ranked 6th among the 10 wild tigers. He was already very close to the lower plane. Not long after he entered the Shrouding Sky secret land, he broke through to the lower plane. Because of the celestial medicine, he had reached the peak of the lower plane and could reach the middle plane at any time. However, he still didn't have the courage to attack Lin Wutian. He just stared at Lin Wutian and the blood dragon knife in his hand trembled. Other than Arthur Schön, the first 3 violent tigers were all at the middle level. The 4th and 5th violent tigers were at the same level as Arthur. Their battle prowess was also at the same level. They could enter the middle level at any time. At this moment, their eyes were flashing with a strange light and killing intent. They wanted to help the Oshi holy ground vent their anger. Lin Wutian, the number 1 supreme being of the younger generation of the Oshi Holy Land, Auchenlate, was a young man with a head full of golden hair and blue eyes. His aura was extremely terrifying, and he was probably even stronger than Xia Yunxue. He was vaguely the number 1 person in the secret territory. At this moment, his eyes were filled with murderous intent, and his oppressive aura caused all the heroes to stop what they were doing. Yes. Lin Wutian was a man of few words. Kill yourself, and I will give you a chance to reincarnate, Auchenlate said in a domineering manner. Lin Wutian didn't like to smile, but at this moment, he smiled and glanced at Xia Yunxue indifferently. Holding his sword, he said, "Who do you think you are? Not to mention you, even if Xia Zhilong were here in person, he wouldn't talk to me like that. Trash like you don't even deserve to carry my shoes. The Oshi Holy Land, a barren land. It hasn't even evolved yet and you're already talking big." Everyone's breathing stagnated. Only Lin Wutian would dare to talk about Xia Zhilong like that in front of Xia Yunxue. Tsk. It seems like you have a lot of enemies, Zhou Shuguang said. What? Are you scared? Lin Wutian asked indifferently. Zhou Shuguang laughed heroically and said, Scared? If you were scared, I wouldn't have come to snatch the treasure from this group of holy sons and holy daughters. Everyone looked at the 2 of them echoing each other, and they didn't put the strong sex, rich sex, and holy lands in their eyes. They were extremely unhappy. Xia Yunxue frowned and was somewhat unhappy. For the younger generation, Xia Zhilong was a god, a real god. Who among the younger generation dared to compete with him? If he entered the Shrouding Sky secret realm, no one would dare to snatch the immortal elixir. Ridiculous! How dare you blaspheme the Holy Empire's crown prince? Xia Yunxue snorted coldly. Blaspheme? If you don't believe me, you can tell the 9 Dragons crown prince what I said. Let's see if he will tell me something absurd like killing myself. Lin Wutian said domineeringly. Lin Wutian's immature face looked younger than any of the holy sons and holy daughters, but his king's qi was the strongest. The divine sword in his hand was not very powerful, but it caused the sword Dao to roar, which attracted the strange looks of more than 10 holy daughters. At this moment, even the holy daughter of the Oshi Holy Land, your holy daughter, was staring at Lin Wutian with a glimmer of light. Your holy daughter was absolutely a peerless beauty. She had long blue hair, golden eyes, and an extremely high bloodline. She should have inherited the bloodline of an eternal sovereign. The profound mysteries of her body were particularly powerful. Even the 10 wild tigers of the Oshi Holy Land were standing around her, as if to protect her. Auchenlate's face suddenly changed. He had always wanted to suppress Xia Zhilong, but now he was being suppressed by an inexplicable brat. If he wasn't afraid of the Eastern forces, he would have already taught Lin Wutian a lesson. At this moment, a figure in the distance was stunned by Lin Wutian. This person was Yan Yunbei, who had disappeared for a long time. He was quietly approaching the location of the immortal elixir, but the battle had stopped, so he had to stop. He was only a lower realm cultivator. Once he was surrounded by a middle realm cultivator, he wouldn't even know how he died. It's Wutian. Why didn't Brother Qing Han come? Could it be that he hasn't entered the lower realm yet? Yan Yunbei said to himself in surprise. Yan Yunbei secretly said to himself. He looked at the group of people from the Sky Reaching School, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He secretly said, I don't know if the Sky Reaching School is willing to cooperate with the crazy sect. If possible, the crazy sect can take less, After thinking for a moment, Yen Yunbei retreated and was ready to discuss with the three godsons of the sky-reaching school. However, when he arrived at the location of the sky-reaching school, the three godsons said bluntly, "This Lin Wutian is one of the targets mentioned by the dean. When the battle starts, take the opportunity to kill him. We can't let him leave the shrouding sky secret realm." The three godsons' words stunned Yen Yunbei. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't imagine why the crazy sect had a grudge with the sky-reaching school. Since it's the dean's words, I'm afraid the three godsons can't change it. Yen Yunbei took a deep breath and sneaked into a secluded place. He took out a piece of parchment, waved his hand, and wrote some words. Then he threw it directly to the chief disciple of the Jie school. Whoosh! The parchment shot toward the three godsons like a sword. The godsons just waved their hands and caught the parchment in their hands. When they opened it, the chief disciple of the Jie school frowned and said, "Yen Yunbei is from the crazy sect." He said that the crazy sect is from a small region and has no grudge with the sky-reaching school. He doesn't want to make enemies. If you attack Lin Wutian, please think twice. Chapter 1884. The three godsons looked at the parchment and hesitated. Lin Wutian's strength was not inferior to any of the godsons. Moreover, Yen Yunbei had been in the interception court for a long time and was familiar with the godsons. They knew each other's strength. Although Yen Yunbei was not in the middle level, once he set his eyes on a middle-level cultivator, the latter would not dare to act rashly. The godson of the interception court looked at the other two and whispered, "This insane sect is related to the heavenly demon cult. Have you found out what their relationship is?" According to Master, it was a young disciple of the crazy sect who became a disciple of celestial Venerable Ranmo and demon Venerable Fazhen. That person is Lin Wutian. The interception court frowned and clenched his fist. He took a deep breath and said, "Yen Yunbei and I have a good relationship. This person is worth befriending. Once we fight, with Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang working together and Yen Yunbei supporting us, we will not succeed." At this time, Auchinlecht led the 5 wild tigers to attack Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang. The battle broke out once again. Sword lights blotted out the sky. The 5th-ranked wild tiger of the Oshi Holy Land didn't have enough time to dodge and was killed by Lin Wutian. The Oshi Holy Land was thoroughly enraged. Auchinright led the 2nd strongest warrior, Quang Hu, to attack Lin Wutian. The 3rd strongest warrior, Quang Hu, rushed towards Zhuo Shuguang. They didn't aim to kill or repel Zhuo Shuguang. As long as they could delay Zhuo Shuguang, Auchinright and the 2nd strongest warrior of the Oshi Holy Land could join forces and kill Lin Wutian. While Lin Wutian and Zhuo Shuguang were holding off Auchinright, Wu Qingkong stepped into the void and rushed towards the location of the immortal herb. The Arhat also led the 3 middle-level immortal Buddhas. So, how could the others allow others to snatch it? The 3 godsons of the transcending sky cult, Xia Yunxue, and the others all led their experts to attack Lin Wutian. Only one group didn't rush over directly. Jailer. Not only did he not fight for the immortal herb, but he also stared at Lin Wutian. Jailer had 2 middle-level and 10 lower-level experts behind him. He was not in a hurry, but the middle-level and lower-level experts were anxious. "Lord Jailer, they have already begun to fight. If we still don't take action..." One of the middle-aged men with a dark face bowed and cupped his fists. Prison guard's face was devoid of color. He looked around at the earth-shattering battle, but his expression didn't change. Instead, he said indifferently, "Let them fight for it first. No one can take the celestial medicine away. Even if Xia Yunxue gets it, he won't be able to escape alive from the hands of so many experts. Even if we get it, we will die." The 2 middle-level cultivators' expressions changed slightly. They didn't expect Prison Guard to be so pessimistic. However, Prison Guard's foresight wasn't something they could compare to. Let's go and save Lin Wutian. Yi Qinghan promised us that he would help us get the celestial medicine. Lin Wutian won't go against Yi Qinghan's orders, said the prison guard indifferently. Even the faces of the lower-order experts from the infernal realm changed, and they all urged, Lord Prison Bro, please reconsider. If we interfere in the affairs of the Oshi Holy Land, it will cause a conflict between the two Holy Lands. Prison Guard smiled evilly and said, the affairs of the secret territory have never involved the outside world. Although some people don't abide by the rules, that's because the distance between the two sides is too great. Our infernal realm and the Oshi Holy Land have always minded our own business. If they want to take revenge, let's see if they have the ability to do so. Moreover, with Lin Wutian joining us, our chances of getting the celestial medicine will increase by at least 30%. Everyone from the infernal realm watched as Lin Wutian fought against two opponents by himself. Although he was retreating step by step, he wasn't injured at all. His aura wasn't chaotic either. The divine sword in his hand seemed to have fused with his body. Green lotuses and rainbows appeared, cutting through the great Tao. Even Auchenright of the Oshi Holy Land was suppressed. What are you waiting for? Do you want me to do it myself? Prison Guard turned his head and looked at the two middle-level cultivators behind him, and asked coldly. The two middle-level cultivators immediately rushed up. The sharp swords in their hands broke through the void, and they rushed towards Auchenright and the second-ranked Carlyle. Xiao! 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 The swords whistled through the void and arrived at the battlefield in an instant. The two of them worked together to force Carlyle back. Although they couldn't completely suppress him, it was enough to make him unable to support Auchenright. With one less enemy, Lin Wutian's aura suddenly rose. The sword moved gracefully, and the way of the sword roared. It was like a sword from the gods, causing time and space to reverse and the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Auchenright was shocked. However, he was still the #1 expert of the Oshi Holy Land. He was like a mad tiger coming out of the mountain, and with the power of thunder, he shattered the mountains and rivers. A small, pure silver cross appeared in his hand. He pressed the small cross on his forehead, and his cultivation rose several times in an instant. Boom! A ray of holy light bathed Auchenright. The holy light divine sword in his hand cut through the way of the heavens, and fiercely collided with the divine sword in Lin Wutian's hand. Whoosh! A wave of qi rushed into the Milky Way and spread in all directions. Countless rocks and trees were shattered into dust. Rub! Rub! Whoosh! Lin Wutian seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. His face suddenly changed. His wrist was broken, and the divine sword was blasted away. He was forced to retreat several steps, and half of the void was shattered. Ahenlek was forced to take 2 steps back before he stabilized his body. His eyes were blazing with murderous intent. He was unwilling to give up. He had used a forbidden technique to increase his cultivation by 2 times. But he had only managed to force Lin Wutian to retreat. He hadn't even managed to injure him. Yer Saint stood in the crowd of the Oshi Holy Land and didn't make a move. Even if the people of Hell intervened, she didn't intend to do anything. Her golden eyes were as dazzling as the scorching sun. Auchenright turned to look at Yer Saint and said softly, Yer, it's impossible to kill him in a short time. Help me and end this quickly. Yer Saint shook her head and said, Forget it. Let them go. Auchenright was a little anxious, but he didn't dare to get angry with Yer Saint. He asked unwillingly, Why? As long as you're willing to help, he'll die in 3 moves. The Oshi Holy Land will be able to regain its face. At this moment, Lin Wutian's qi was surging. He couldn't hold his sword firmly. It was the first time he had encountered the strongest of the Oshi Holy Land. Their divine power was completely different from the Eastern Orthodox cultivators. It was very strange. They could penetrate his soul and qi through divine power. If he continued to fight, he would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, when he saw that Saint wanted to stop the fight, he didn't chase after her. Saint smiled and said, "Brother Auchenwright, let's forget about it. If the hell intervenes, we won't be able to succeed. The prison master hasn't done anything yet. Since he has chosen the hell to help Lin Wutian, he won't just stand by and watch." Auchenwright's face was ferocious. He looked at Saint, and the way he looked at Lin Wutian was a little different. Jealousy rushed out of his heart. He was burning with anger. He couldn't wait to crush Lin Wutian into pieces. Saint didn't seem to notice Auchenwright's murderous aura and anger. She said indifferently, "There's an old saying in the East. It's better to squash enmity than to keep it alive. I want to reconcile with fellow Taoist Lin. From now on, we'll turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk. I wonder if fellow Taoist Lin can give this little girl face?" Lin Wutian didn't want to be entangled with the people of the Oshi Holy Land for too long. He nodded and said, "Since the Saintess is willing to give me face, I'm naturally willing to reconcile. Otherwise, if the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman will profit. That's not good." Chapter 1885. Auchenwright didn't want to give up, but Saint seemed to have a higher status than him. Her words made the other two tigers stop fighting. Saint smiled at Lin Wutian. She didn't say anything else. She waved her hand and took the others to the location of the celestial elixir. Mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. Blood flowed like a river. Many lower-level invincible kings were dying tragically. Auchenwright snorted. He took off the small silver cross on his forehead and glared at Lin Wutian. Then he turned and left. The prison guard looked at Lin Wutian and calmly said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, the underworld and your sect master have reached an agreement. You will help me obtain the celestial medicine. I'm sure you're aware of this. This is also the reason why I saved you. Do you want to go against Yi Qinghan's wishes, or do you want to follow his wishes?" Lin Wutian grew up with Yi Qinghan. He knew Yi Qinghan's character very well. It would be strange if Yi Qinghan was willing to give up the celestial elixir. However, he didn't point it out and said, "I'll do my best. But you have to know that it's impossible for those people to kill me and fellow Taoists. We don't owe you our lives." Zhuo Shuguang waved his hand and turned the mountain river painting. He smiled and looked down at the experts of hell. He said indifferently, "If I want to leave, no one can stop me, including you." Clap, clap, clap. The prison guard clapped his hands and smiled. "The #1 rogue cultivator is really arrogant. No wonder you refused the recruitment of so many Holy Land." Zhuo Shuguang looked at Lin Wutian's expression and said in a low voice, "Lord Prison Guard is not simple. I can't compare to you." The prison guard smiled and said, "It's my honor to be praised by the #1 rogue cultivator. I wonder if fellow Taoist Zhuo is interested in joining forces to get the celestial elixir?" "How do we split it?" Zhuo Shuguang asked. The prison guard glanced at the location of the celestial elixir and said, "The celestial elixir can be refined into 9 eternal elixirs. Fellow Taoist Zhuo and fellow Taoist Lin can get one. I believe you two have a chance to reach the eternal realm. So, I'm willing to make friends with you." Zhuo Shuguang didn't agree immediately. Instead, he looked at Lin Wutian, wanting to know his attitude. However, Lin Wutian did not give prison master any face. He spoke first. "My crazy sect wants 4, not 1. Taoists will get 30% and hell will get 3. If you are willing to cooperate, then you can discuss it with my master. However, he is not in the Shrouding Sky secret realm now." The prison guard's face suddenly changed. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He stared at Lin Wutian and asked, "You don't want to cooperate anymore?" The Shrouding Sky secret realm was in a mess. Hundreds of super forces desperately rushed towards the location of the celestial medicine. They had no friends, only enemies. In order to obtain the celestial medicine, they could betray any friend. The most powerful forces were the Holy Empire of Central Earth, the Transcending Heaven Cult, and the Oshi Holy Land. The three Holy Lands were equally powerful, and they had forced many forces to retreat. Yi Qinghan was still in the crazy sect. At this moment, he was a little anxious. His heart was beating fast, and his fingertips were constantly tapping on the table. Green Lotus, I want to go to the Shrouding Sky secret realm again. This time, it is said that the celestial medicine has appeared. I don't know if it is true or not. If it is true, the crazy sect will be in danger. I can't take the risk, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Green Lotus Sword Immortal looked at Yi Qinghan with a trace of disdain. He raised his eyebrows and asked disdainfully, You? Can you make a big wave? The holy sons of any place are not people you can compete with. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He didn't expect Green Lotus to look down on him so much. Stop talking nonsense. I got some holy herbs from the underground palace. They can allow me to temporarily burst out dozens of times my combat power. I have no problem dealing with the holy sons and holy daughters. Take me there quickly, Yi Qinghan said impatiently. Okay, I will take you there. But after you get the celestial medicine, bring it out and give it to me. I will be responsible for refining the eternal pills for you. Green Lotus whispered. Yi Qinghan was suddenly overjoyed. He was worried that there was no way to refine the eternal pills. He didn't expect Green Lotus Sword Immortal to have the ability to refine them. At this moment, Zhang Tianshan's face was full of flattery. He rubbed his hands and said covetously, Little Yi, this great immortal has calculated that you will succeed this time. I am willing to help you. My little monkey can cross mountains to get the celestial medicine. As long as you help it delay the enemy, after you get the celestial medicine, can you give me an eternal pill to taste? Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and looked at the little golden monkey on his shoulder. He knew that this little monkey's ability was not small. He nodded and said, If it can get the celestial medicine, there is no harm in giving it to you. When Zhang Tianshan heard this, he was overjoyed. He quickly signaled to the little golden monkey. The little golden monkey was quite human. It squeaked and ran to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It also had a wretched and flattering look on its face. It seemed that one was marked by the company one kept. It was just like Zhang Tianshan. Let's not talk anymore. You and Senior Ranmo stay in the crazy mansion. Green Lotus and I are in a hurry. Goodbye. After Yi Qinghan finished speaking, he took the little golden monkey and Green Lotus and rushed out of the crazy mansion. As long as Green Lotus Sword Immortal didn't use the eternal power, an eternal sovereign wouldn't be able to find her. However, even if she didn't use the power of an eternal sovereign, her speed was still much faster than Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Green Lotus Sword Immortal brought Yi Qinghan with him, transforming into a ray of green light that shot into the distance. Stars moved in the blink of an eye, covering a distance of 10,000 kilometers. The mountains and rivers retreated, and the mandarin ducks flew away. Yi Qinghan could only feel a gust of wind and a wisp of immortal qi entering his nose. His large hand blocked the soft flesh of Green Lotus Sword Immortal's waist. He turned his head to look at Green Lotus Sword Immortal, who had a serious expression on her face. She didn't seem to feel that her forbidden area had been touched. Her serious expression made him smile. Suddenly, Green Lotus Sword Immortal rose into the sky and pushed Yi Qinghan away. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan suddenly lost his balance and fell from the sky. His heart almost stopped. He immediately screamed, Green Lotus, I was wrong, whoosh! The Green Lotus Sword Immortal snorted coldly and flicked the green robe at his waist. Then, he slowly chased after Yi Qinghan. He grabbed Yi Qinghan's collar and was as arrogant as a little fairy who would not tolerate being tarnished by mortals. Yi Qinghan bitterly smiled. He didn't know when this woman had gone crazy. He finally didn't dare to provoke her in the sky. They didn't speak along the way. Green Lotus Sword Immortal didn't want to speak. Even when Yi Qinghan asked her about something, she kept her mouth shut. In the end, Yi Qinghan had no choice but to give up. With Green Lotus Sword Immortal escorting him, Yi Qinghan reached the battle race's territory in less than a month. They were only half a day away from Shrouding Sky's secret realm. Green Lotus Sword Immortal headed straight for Shrouding Sky's secret realm. When they were still 1,000 miles away, she put Yi Qinghan on the ground and lightly said, "You go alone. I can't appear again or it will arouse some people's suspicion." Yi Qinghan nodded. Just as he was about to leave, Green Lotus Sword Immortal suddenly placed the wooden sword in Yi Qinghan's hand. She said seriously, "This sword has been soaked in my blood for countless years. It's already connected with me. Take it with you and don't use it unless you need to. Protect your life and don't make me waste so much time and energy." Yi Qinghan looked at Green Lotus Sword Immortal's serious expression and felt warm in his heart. However, he still said in a casual tone, "The most important thing is that I can't let you down. Don't worry, I don't want to die. No one can kill me." Then, without waiting for Green Lotus Sword Immortal to get angry, he took the wooden sword and ran away. However, the feeling of holding the wooden sword this time was fundamentally different from the first time. Before, it was as heavy as Mount Tai, but now it was as light as a feather. It was like a part of his body. Chapter 1886. Yi Qinghan took the little golden monkey and floated into the distance like a ghost. At this moment, the people outside the Shrouding Sky's secret realm were waiting anxiously. Only the real kings were sitting in their tents and meditating. The 3 deans of the Sky-reaching school were suppressing Fazhen Demon Venerable like old monks without any emotional fluctuations. Fazhen Demon Venerable did not struggle or resist. He was like a rotten person waiting for death, staring blankly at the entrance. After a while, Yi Qinghan entered the central tribe like a ghost and slowly approached the Sky-reaching school. The dean of the Jie school of the Sky-reaching cult was warm and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. His deep eyes opened slightly, and his cyan Taoist robe fluttered without any wind. He pulled open the curtain of the tent and walked out directly. His eyes were like torches. He stared at the approaching Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled and did not find it strange. It would be strange if the deans of the Sky-reaching school couldn't find him from 1,000 meters away. Russell. Yi Qinghan trotted to Wensu and bowed. Yi Qinghan from the insane school greets Senior. Wensu made a sound from his nostrils and answered Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and bowed. "You must be the deans of the Jie Yard. This junior wants to ask if the Jie Yard saved a young man called Yen Yunbei thousands of years ago?" When Su's eyes flashed as he looked at Yi Qinghan, it was as if he could see through his essence. His sage-like temperament made people involuntarily believe in him. There was such a child. "Why? Is he from the insane school?" Wen Su asked. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He finally found information about Yen Yunbei. However, he didn't know that Yen Yunbei had also found people from the insane school in the secret realm. Yen Yunbei is this junior's close friend. When I had a conflict with Hell, he was seriously injured in order to save me. If it wasn't for your school's help, this junior might not have been able to see him again. Therefore, this junior wants to thank you. Having said that, Yi Qinghan got down on one knee, looking very sincere. Wen Su did not expect Yen Yunbei to be a member of the crazy sect. Wen Su admired and liked Yen Yunbei. Moreover, he had taught Yen Yunbei for many years. Yen Yunbei could be considered as half a disciple. Wen Su was in a difficult position. If Yen Yunbei was from the Guangzong and the godson of the top 3 schools destroyed the Guangzong, wouldn't they turn from benefactors to enemies? Yi Qinghan saw that Wen Su was frozen in place, and could not help but feel a little puzzled. He did not know that the Transcending Heaven Church had ordered a destructive attack on the crazy sect. Senior, this junior doesn't know what kind of grievances there are between the Heavenly Reaching Church and the Heavenly Demon Cult, but Fazhen Demon Senior has already left the Heavenly Demon Cult and joined my crazy sect. If possible, this junior is willing to exchange a part of the fairy elixir for his life. Of course, the premise is that the fairy elixir really appears in the secret territory. Yi Qinghan said firmly. Wen Su's fingertips trembled slightly. He waved his hand and sent out a jade pendant. He said calmly, "Get up, I will send you into the secret territory. Give this jade pendant to Wen Haitao, the eldest disciple of the Interception School. He will understand what I mean." Yi Qinghan took the jade pendant. He did not understand what Wen Su meant, but since Wen Su had already expressed his stance, there was no need to argue. He immediately got up and thanked him, his eyes flashing. With Wen Su sending him off, Xia Zhilong would probably give him some face and not stop him from entering the secret territory. At this moment, Wanhong Holy Man and the 9 Extremes Holy Man came over. Their faces were very serious. They secretly communicated with Wen Su, "Brother One, it should be too late. The disciples of the top 3 schools have come personally. It will be a piece of cake for them to destroy the juniors of the crazy sect. Why let him go in again? Let's give it a try. I've only nurtured a few children over the years, and Yen Yunbei is one of them. I'm old, and after a long time I naturally have some feelings. I don't want that child Yunbei to resent me and hate me in the end," Wen Su said sadly. The 2 Supremes sighed and shook their heads. They did not think highly of the crazy sect. Since Wen Su said so, they could only try their best. The 3 Supremes brought Yi Qinghan to the entrance of the secret territory. The entrance was blocked by Xia Zhilong and the Supremes of the various Holy Lands. Obviously, no one was allowed to enter the secret territory. Xia Zhilong saw that the headmasters of the top 3 schools had personally brought Yi Qinghan over and knew what they wanted to do. He was smart and immediately looked at the people of Hell, the blessed Buddha Temple and the Oshi Holy Ground. They had a grudge against Yi Qinghan and would definitely not allow Yi Qinghan to enter at this time. Wen Su's Taoist robe fluttered as he stepped on the road. His white hair fluttered and his lips moved slightly. He condensed his voice and said to Xia Zhilong, "Nine Dragons Crown Prince, I wonder if you can do me a favor and send Yi Qinghan into the secret territory?" Xia Zhilong could not help but smile bitterly. He could not make the decision. This required the consent of the Oshi Holy Ground, Hell and the blessed Buddha Temple. "Headmaster Wen, don't make it difficult for me. My attitude is not the deciding factor. As long as they agree, I will do you a favor even if I suffer a loss." Xia Zhilong was good with words. He rejected Wen Su's request and acted obediently. The people of the 22 Holy Lands were at the entrance of the secret territory. If he wanted to send Yi Qinghan in, he would need the consent of more than half of them. Wen Su looked around and saw that everyone was frowning at him. He cleared his throat and his deep voice spread in all directions. "Fellow cultivators, Yi Qinghan from the insane sect has already entered the secret realm. However, he had to come out to recuperate because of his injuries. Now that his injuries have recovered, I wonder if he can enter again? Of course not. Does he think that the secret territory is his home? He can enter and leave as he pleases. Even my holy ground does not have the right to do so. What right does he have?" Aster from the Oshi Holy Ground immediately refused in a cold voice. "Amitba. All beings are equal. I will not allow anyone to break this rule." A holy Buddha from the blessed Buddha Temple put his palms together and said firmly. Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a sneer as he thought to himself, I knew you guys would object. Yi Qinghan looked at Xia Zhilong and said in a low voice, Your Highness, I wonder if we can have a private chat? Xia Zhilong looked at Yi Qinghan's confident eyes and was curious about how Yi Qinghan would move him. He nodded and led Yi Qinghan into his main hall. Your Highness, as long as you send me in, if my crazy sect obtains the fairy elixir, I am willing to offer you an eternal holy elixir. Yi Qinghan went straight to the point. He did not want to waste any more time and said straightforwardly. Xia Zhilong looked at Yi Qinghan curiously, then slowly sat down. He didn't seem to be in a hurry, and said in a cultured and refined manner, What a big tone. If this crown prince were to say that he had 100% chance of obtaining the celestial medicine after entering the mystic realm, what are your chances? Yi Qinghan looked directly at Xia Zhilong and said firmly, More than 80%, as long as the fairy elixir appears. Chapter 1887. In the main hall of the palace, Xia Zhilong sat on the main seat and looked down at Yi Qinghan. He found that Yi Qinghan's eyes were abnormally firm, as if he really had the confidence to obtain the immortal medicine. After a long time, Xia Zhilong exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He placed his hand on the table and tapped it with his fingertip. After thinking for a moment, he said, The flying immortal elixir appears once every 100 eras. There won't be a big change in the frequency of its appearance. It should appear in the next few years. Perhaps it has already appeared. Various parties are fighting for it. This crown prince can give you a chance to enter the secret realm, but I want 30% of the flying immortal elixir. 30% meant 3 eternal pills. Yi Qinghan frowned. 30% was too much. The sky-piercing church still needed one. If he cooperated with others in the secret realm, there would not be much left. If he gave Xia Zhilong 3, the insane sect would have no profit. Crown Prince, forgive me for being blunt, but I want to use a part of the eternal pills to redeem Fazhen Demon Venerable. If we want to enter the secret realm to snatch the immortal medicine, we will have to cooperate with other experts. We can only get about 50% of the immortal medicine. You can take 30% and the sky-piercing church will have one more. Yi Qinghan replied firmly. However, Xia Zhilong was unwilling to give in. He said proudly, Although this crown prince did not enter the secret realm, I still have some confidence in my nephew Xia Yunshue's battle strength. Moreover, his cultivation is already at the peak of the lower realm. As long as the immortal medicine appears, he will definitely benefit and reach the middle realm. At that time, there will be few who can compete with him. As long as you don't enter, Xia Yunxue has more than 50% chance of getting the immortal medicine. At this time, Yi Qinghan did not want to hide anything anymore. He said straightforwardly, I'm afraid the crown prince will be disappointed. When I came out, the immortal medicine had not appeared yet. My disciple Lin Wutian had already stepped into the middle realm. He is absolutely invincible in the secret realm. Hua! Xia Zhilong's eyes opened and golden light filled the hall. He stood up directly, his eyes full of disbelief. You're lying. Lin Wutian's battle strength was only at the peak of the Sector Lord realm. Even if his talent was outstanding, he could only step into the early lower realm in a few hundred years. How could he be the first to reach the middle realm? Xia Zhilong's voice was deep and deep, like the sound of a chaotic bell, rumbling in Yi Qinghan's ears. Yi Qinghan didn't move at all. His divine robes fluttered in the wind as he looked at Xia Zhilong with determination. Isn't it foolish of me to lie to you about such a thing? Xia Zhilong's face suddenly changed. He knew Lin Wutian's fighting strength better than anyone else. Even if they were at the same level, Xia Yunxue was no match for Lin Wutian, let alone Lin Wutian, who was at the middle level. After a long time, Xia Zhilong raised 2 fingers and said in a deep voice, 20%, no less. 1. Your country and the sky-reaching church are the same. Each of you has 1. This is the biggest concession I can make. Moreover, you know Wutian's battle strength. Even if I don't go in, he can still hold his own. You don't want to waste your efforts, do you? Yi Qinghan replied firmly. Xia Zhilong stared at Yi Qinghan, and a cold aura shrouded Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan slightly took a step back. Perhaps only an existence like Xia Zhilong could use his aura to suppress Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, you're the first person who dared to refuse me. Xia Zhilong didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and said indifferently. Yi Qinghan forced a smile and said, You're the crown prince. I don't want to offend you, but there's a person I can't refuse who has already taken a part of it. I can't reveal her identity. I can only say that she's a supreme existence. I've already promised her, so there's only this much left. I can only promise you the right to this one. Pa. Xia Zhilong slammed his palm on the table and slowly stood up. He sighed and said, All right, since you've said so, then 1 is 1. But after you go in, if Xia Yunxue gets the celestial medicine and you dare to snatch it from her, I don't care who's behind you. I'll crush the insane sect. Yi Qinghan slightly bowed and cupped his fists, agreeing to Xia Zhilong's request. Yi Qinghan, if Xia Yunxue gets the celestial medicine and you can protect her, this crown prince will give you 2. That's not bad, right? I'm much more generous than you. How about it? Xia Zhilong said with a smile. Thank you, crown prince. If Xia Yunxue really gets it, I'm willing to do my best to help her leave the secret territory. Yi Qinghan replied. Xia Zhilong nodded in satisfaction. He took the lead and walked out of the hall, heading straight for the entrance. At the entrance, some forces had secretly reached an agreement to stop Yi Qinghan from entering the Shrouding Sky secret territory, especially the Blessed Buddha Temple and Oshi Sacred Ground. However, Hell's attitude was very vague. If they opposed, then most of the forces would oppose as well. Seniors, we'll vote to decide whether Yi Qinghan can enter the secret territory again. This crown prince and the 3 elders of the sky-reaching school have the same idea. Yi Qinghan had to come out because of his injuries. Now that he's recovered, there's nothing wrong with him entering again. Xia Zhilong glanced around and said lightly, The sacred grounds each have 1 vote. The other sects and clans don't have the right to vote. Those who support Yi Qinghan entering the secret territory, please raise your hand. The leaders of the clans and 3,000 clans looked at Xia Zhilong awkwardly. They didn't expect him to not give them any face. However, the sky-reaching school that supported Yi Qinghan entering the secret territory was naturally the first to raise their hand. Xia Zhilong and Wen Su of the Interception Court raised their hands. Like a huge flag, they immediately led a portion of the sacred ground. The Jade Clan Sacred Ground in the southeast and the Xixiang Sacred Ground in the south had the best relationship with the Central Plains Holy Empire. Naturally, they were the first to raise their hands to support Xia Zhilong. The Lan family in the Far East was attached to the Holy Empire. The head of the Lan family was once a disciple of the Holy Emperor of the Holy Empire and finally attained the Eternal Realm. Therefore, the Holy Empire's attitude was basically the same as the Lan family's. With the support of 3 sacred grounds, Yi Qinghan instantly received 5 votes. However, there were a total of 22 sacred grounds. He was still a distance away from half of them. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and looked for the people from the Martial Path Supremacy Sacred Ground. After all, the reincarnation of Emperor Yi and Bai Shaoxing was beside the Kuang Zone. It wasn't as if they didn't know. Sure enough, the 3 brothers from the Martial Path Supremacy Sacred Ground quickly found the leader of the Supremacy Sacred Ground. After whispering a few words, the Martial Path Supremacy Sacred Ground quickly raised their hands to support Yi Qinghan entering the Shrouding Sky secret territory again. The 6th party supported him. Yi Qinghan looked at the Sword Supremacy Sacred Ground's sword supremacy and bowed slightly, hoping that he would give him some face. Sword Supremacy Sacred Ground was considering the face of Xia Zhilong and the Sky-Piercing School's 3 great academies. It wasn't Yi Qinghan's intention. However, since Xia Zhilong supported Yi Qinghan, he wouldn't oppose it. Yi Qinghan, this old man can support you entering the Shrouding Sky secret territory. However, don't disappoint this old man. Whatever you promised Xia Zhilong, you have to promise me. Sword Supremacy Sacred Ground said bluntly. After Sword Supremacy Sacred Ground finished speaking, he didn't wait for Yi Qinghan to agree and raised his hands to support him. The 7th Sacred Ground clearly supported him. Seeing so many people supporting him, the people from the Oshi Sacred Ground became anxious. 4 experts walked out and said coldly, "The Oshi Sacred Ground clearly rejects Yi Qinghan from entering the Shrouding Sky secret territory again." Oshi Sacred Ground was the short name of the Oshi Sacred Ground. It wasn't a sacred ground, so it had 4 votes. The attitude of the Blessed Buddha Temple's presiding Immortal Buddha was very clear. He definitely did not support Yi Qinghan. The Blessed Buddha Temple also had 3 affiliated Holy Land. In an instant, they pulled even and overtook Yi Qinghan. The votes for and against were 8-6. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.